go live, hopefully. Let's see. We'll do it live. I think we're live.
What?
Yep, we're live.
But I'm not ready.
Welcome, everybody, to another kitchen sink LIVEcroscopy. I know we generally tend to number each sort of thing we do. I don't remember how many live episodes we've done. This might be
I've lost count.
5th or 6th or something, you know, who knows?
Oh no, way more than that.
Is it? Oh, okay. Well, yeah. All right, then, more beer. That'll refresh my memory. Right?
Well, I'm what's my name? Casey Rochford.
That was Casey Rosenblatt. I'm Eric Rochford. Remember?
I'm getting confused.
Who filled out this "Have you got a good memory" quiz?
Oh yeah. So yeah, we thought we would life's getting pretty nuts. It's hard to keep up with the show sometimes, so we're just doing some live stuff for a while here and there, and
live things tend to be kind of more dynamic too, because we get the viewer engagement too.
Yeah, viewer singular usually, but yeah,
well, we get a few.
Yeah, but today's going to be a good one because one of our really good episodes a while back, I can't even remember how long ago. Was that like a year ago? Anyway,
Season 3, I think. Yeah,
we did one of those surveys you get in the mail, and it was super interesting about like respect for the military or something.
Yeah, I think it was tied to like the USO or something like that, because I donated to them one time, and
handful of questions took us like 2 hours. And
I know, but they were really good questions. Like they brought up a lot of interesting points, and well, yeah, like we love discussing things like that. So yeah, I was thinking about it. We were kind of jaw jacking a little bit before, and I figure we should try to take the political compass test, like the kind of main one. We might go and do a follow-up. I don't know if this happens quickly, which I doubt it will. We could go into the other one. There's one that's more political oriented and one that's more like philosophy oriented, and they're both really good, but this one I think is going to be really, really good. So well, just like whose line is it anyway? The points don't matter. It doesn't matter where you land at the end, like Casey or I, and actually you could follow along.
We can't edit in. I was just thinking like we can't really edit in like visuals of the topic we're talking about. We could probably maybe, I don't know, share the screen every so often to refresh people like what topic we're on. But I mean,
well, so the site,
we're just Mickey Mousing everything together.
Oh yeah, we're just kind of winging it. So the site that we're at is politicalcompass.org. So this is kind of like a old school, it's been going for decades actually, and they've added and subtracted things and tweaked the settings, added more languages over the years. So you could take it in multiple languages as well, so that's kind of cool. And yeah, this is one of the more like quadrant based ones, which I think there should be another dimension when it comes to this, but this is at least shows you that there's more than just the left hand and the right hand. It's not just black and white. Like, yeah, people are all over the place. And
even within one quadrant, there's lines you could draw and buckets you could put things in.
Yep.
Like you can cut this stuff way down. So it's weird to just kind of cast a huge net over this entire country and say, you either think this way or that way.
Basically half the population of a country.
Well, yeah, I was watching the election results. Every year there's some kind of election, it's like 49.7% to 49.6%.
Yeah.
Always.
Yep.
Like, where are the fucking landslides? Like,
and yeah, where's the nuance too?
There's no bell curve of any kind to any of this.
No,
that
and this
means
is the
it's
thing.
Entirely staged.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. Well, one of the problems, like you're saying, the casting the big net, it's not just about how other people or people view other people, right? It's also how people view themselves. Like, well, you can't believe this without believing that, right? You can't consider yourself part of a membership of some partisan organization, like a political party or something, without believing all of these things.
Talk
Like you
about a
can't
huge
be,
logical fallacy.
yeah,
Like,
exactly. Where are the Republicans that are for abortion rights? Where are the Democrats that are like staunch Second Amendment defenders? Like, where are they? Like there should be.
I have seen some of those.
They do exist, but I mean it's like it's few and far between, and they're seen as pariahs. Like they're not accepted. It's like, oh no, you have to toe the party line. You got to be part of this group or that group, and like we don't like this person because they claim to be this, but they're it's what do they call them? Was a rhino or something, Republican and name only or something. And I'm sure there's one for the Democrats. Like yeah, like
Yeah.
you're not really this if you don't believe that. And is that like the no true Scotsman fallacy at work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which and this is exactly why people don't get along. Because it becomes so polarizing. Like it's artificially polarizing. It's just crazy. Imagine if pineapple on pizza was one of the terms and conditions of being part of a political party. People would be like beating each other up in the streets over that.
It's just as silly.
Yeah, it really
what we do now, so
exactly. and ultimately, I believe that most things, people in their core believe the same core value. Maybe they just have different ways of perceiving things, different methods of execution, but ultimately people kind of want the same stuff. Ultimately, I mean, unless you're insane, if you're like Putin, probably you're a little bit of an outlier.
Well, before we get too far into the weeds, should we maybe start
let me just shift this over so that I can see all the things at once. Try to get the chat down there so I can see if there's any chat, and I can put you over there. Oh wait, no, I won't. You should be over there. And now I have to like click another. Oh Jesus! Oh my God!
While Eric's doing his Tetris game with his monitor,
I think I got it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I got it. I had to maximize and minimize and drag windows a bunch of times, but I think I got it. Okay. So
tell me you're on the spectrum without saying you're on the spectrum.
So why don't we start with the first question then? And I don't know how we want to do this. If we want to take turns, who answers first, I guess. Why don't we do that? That seems the most fair.
Yep.
And you can start by answering first, and then I'll answer, and hopefully alcohol won't confuse us too much. But we'll both answer the question.
Okay.
So
I guess why don't you read it?
Yeah, I'll read it, and then you can answer, and then I'll answer. Okay, so if economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. And oh, by the way, all these are strongly disagree to strongly agree. There's a little spectrum there.
Well, I strongly agree with that, because what's the point? What's the point of putting so much effort and consideration into something that we made up and doesn't really exist, while ignoring the needs and comfort and happiness of living, breathing beings just like you?
I totally agree. I strongly agree with that as well. Like, yeah, sometimes the two things do align, like human interest versus big corporate interests, like making money and also making things better, sometimes lives in the same camp. But yeah, I think that should be the focus of this. And I think globalization is a good thing. It brings everybody together. Like, it allows people to make things and create things and share them across the world. Like I can buy and I can sell anything to anywhere for the most part. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It raises
Transculturation, like things start to blend, but they don't disappear. Like people are like, oh, if we do that, then no one will have color anymore. And it's like, well, first of all, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But you're always going to have islands, and islands create diversity. And so, I mean, like we will never be homogenous, like Rimmer World style people running around looking exactly identical to each other. That could never happen.
No, and that's not even a good thing. That doesn't do us any service, really.
Yeah.
Like
that's where people dial it up to, though. They're like, oh, this is what you want, huh? Everyone's just a carbon copy. Like, no, I mean,
no, there's still like in the global world, there's still diversity, and it's like, in fact, it's almost kind of magnified when we have this interconnectivity. The internet has certainly changed the game a lot. Like I've just purchased things from across the world off of eBay that, like I can order something from China, I can order something from the UK, like from Mexico, like any place on the world, and I can get it. And if I had something to sell, I could sell it to people anywhere, and everybody benefits. That's a good thing. Like I don't, and yeah, I'm kind of more like the mom and pop side of things. Like I think that's like Etsy is a better way than Amazon, right?
I think a society like that would never encounter the overcrowding issues that we have, because that's born of corporations in a way. It keeps everyone living in the same place to be close to that thing. But if you were working with the entire world, it wouldn't make sense to have all the red tape that we do now. Like you can order something from the UK, but does it get here as quickly and efficiently as something that you ordered from across this country?
However, if you order something from one place, it might end up being a superior or less expensive or both product. So maybe you're willing to wait a little bit for the improvement.
And like, you bring your business all over the world. You aren't just like throwing darts at one particular spot over and over again.
Sure. It also, the whole all your eggs in one basket kind of thing. Like you don't want centralized industrial production. It should be distributed. So if there is, say like a war in Ukraine, like the one attack on one location doesn't cripple the entire system. You could be like, oh, well, we could just recover from that because, well, I could just go over there. I could go over there. There's people making things all over the place. Like it's not all held together in one place. That's a good thing.
Yeah. People fear the, like, I don't know, maybe like a military rule coming over a situation like that. But it's like even the defense of your neighbors, it doesn't really need structure. It's like if some cause is important enough, people will flock to it and try to overcome that issue, like, and keep it local.
Exactly.
Things like Ukraine and Russia would actually be two kids fighting over some sand in their sandbox. Like,
exactly. No, you've made some really good points, and I think some of the questions coming up are also going to further elaborate on what you just said, what we were just talking about. So why don't we move on to the next one? Because this is also a really good one.
Oh, yes, it is. Okay, so the second question: I'd always support my country, whether it was right or wrong.
I strongly disagree with that.
I strongly agree that you strongly disagree.
I do indeed concur wholeheartedly. I don't even believe that I really have a country. Like, really, if you think about it, it's all kind of made up anyway.
No, you're a
Like,
dude. You don't have a cunt.
no, you add extra couple letters in there. Yeah,
Bandwidth.
yeah. But even then, like as a person residing in the US, I mean, I have a kinship for my neighbors and people and the history of where I live. But no, I am hypercritical of this country, like the government and the mistakes it's made, the horrible things it's done. I mean, yes, there have been some great things. The Apollo program, fucking awesome. Like that was great. But you yeah, there's a dark rabbit hole you could go down about the bad things the US either like, well, in various capacities has done. And no, I wouldn't support that at all. Like that's not what I believe. That's not who I am. That's not the kind of energy I want to project out there, like attacking innocent people, putting peaceful people in cages, whether it be at the border or in federal prisons for federal crimes that are basically like what I call bureaucratic crimes, like smoking weed or something like that. No, I don't. You gotta. It's kind of like friends, you know. If you have a friend, if your friend does something awful, you can't be like, oh, well, they're my friend or my family. I have to support them no matter what, even if they just fucking murdered somebody. No, like no. There is a right and a wrong. I mean, and well, you get Nazis if you blindly support whatever a government does or whatever any group does, really, for that matter. I mean, country, cult, whatever, you name it. Yeah, I don't.
Just within the last week, I think, on our Facebook page, I posted something I saw that said, you know, like, history sometimes will make you uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't, you're probably not reading history.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Oh, and I was like, that is what this show is. I mean, maybe that's something we said and it actually went viral and we completely forgot it because it sounded just like something we would say.
It very well could be. Yeah. So I'm guessing you're like feeling the same way about that.
Yeah, because it's silly, and I think the next question actually gets into this, but it's like, you know, it's silly. We put ourselves into these buckets and put so much pride on them, and I don't see any point to that. Like, there are causes that are important to me. There's causes that aren't directly important to me that I do care about because I'm an empathetic human being. But it's like I also don't want to be one of those people that's like, what, you don't support this idea as much as I do, and use it to like create these fences.
Well, yeah, and actually a lot of times those kinds of causes, those things that we're all concerned about, are manipulated to control people. So systems will say, we're doing this because this, but when you look at it objectively, you know that it's wrong. Like some of the stuff that happened in the Middle East, like speaking from the US's angle, like what the US did, the military did over there, is objectively wrong. Like, sure, maybe they're in their head, their cause was just, but it is doing, like, is it worth pursuing that cause at all costs, killing innocent people? You know, is that worth it? Is that worth, I don't know. Like, so that's the thing. Like, we need to be a lot more thoughtful about things.
We got a comment. It is possible to disagree but still support someone.
Yes.
Thank you, viewers, for hating us and still watching the show.
Well, which that ties into my thought, what I was just talking about with the Iraq War and stuff like that in Afghanistan. Like, I thought throughout most of that, like, the more I learned, the more concerned I became about the actions taken over there. And I totally disagree with the methodology, like the big picture methodology. But the individual soldiers, yeah, I totally support them. People that come back, like, we need to support the veterans. Like, I mean, those are individual people. Politicians who just check a checkbox or sign a thing or send down a decree or something, that's different than the individuals who are oblivious to the big picture of what's going on. They're just like, I'm just here to collect a paycheck. I got a family to feed. I don't know what's going on. But, like, I don't have access to all the super secret squirrel tactical data that they do. So I just have to go off of what I know. So yeah, I mean, in hindsight, we can look back at things and be like, yeah, that was a mistake. Like, Vietnam totally was a mistake, but I completely support all the people that went over there. Well, a lot of them did it compulsorily. Is that a word? It was a compulsory thing.
Forcified.
Yeah, they were drafted and, like, well, you have no choice. And so, like, okay, well, same thing with over in Ukraine. Like, the
have we done an episode on drafting?
I think, yeah.
Did we?
We did, yeah. Oh. And I think there might be something coming up here too. So we can also go back into that. But those mobilized soldiers in Russia, like, I feel pity for them. Like, this is the thing. They're not all raring to go, just grabbing AKs and rushing into battle and stuff like that. No, there are lines of battle where basically, if you're the front line, if you're one of the conscripts, you're handed a rifle and told, like, hey, hold this position. And if you retreat because you're taking fire and you don't know what the hell's going on because you have zero training, which most of them, that's the case. Well, the line behind you will shoot you. And then if the line behind you, if they retreat, the line behind them is going to shoot them. So it's like, well, you have no choice. What other choice do you have? I can't necessarily hate on everybody there.
That is obviously a pretty fucking psychologically torturous way to build a military. And I don't know that our own military is all that different. Like, there are accentuated points that, may differ in severity, but the same kind of thing happens. I mean, like, I think they're finally starting to outlaw some of this, but, like, the whole concept of punishing the entire barracks because one person didn't speak up for themselves. Like, that's, I mean, it's poetic and it's good for movies, but, like, when it comes to real human beings, that is not a good way to be.
It's not a good way to conduct a war either. Like, it's actually demonstrably like shooting yourself in the foot. As you can see, Ukraine just completely took back the northern part of Kherson, like, in days, because of the disorganization of the Russian forces. Like, it doesn't provide any benefit other than, maybe to some kind of psychopath that just loves watching people kill and be killed or something like that. But it's that
experiment. What was that called? Where the
electric shock one?
No, like the prison one. Like, certain random volunteers in this research project were told, okay, you play the role of the security guard and you play the role of the prisoner. And like, they saw people get, like, dark and twisted and, drunk with power and do like incredibly cruel and horrible shit, like, in, like, make believe even.
Well, exactly, because
Like,
you're not
wow.
you're playing a role. And also the electric shock one, where people, um the participants had to push a button when somebody got a question wrong or something, and they shocked the person, and they were told to turn up the power, which was all fake, of course. But on the other side of a wall, somebody was screaming in pain, and they were told continually turn the power up. And because a voice of authority told them to, that people were inclined to just follow that, even though
Wow.
they knew, like, they believed they were killing somebody. But some authoritative person with like a lab coat and a clipboard was like, well, turn it up to 15. Well, you got to turn it up. And there's somebody like, ah, screaming. And then, yeah, they found that people were willing to do that when somebody was authoritative enough. Oh, we have a bunch of extra comments, but we should probably get on to the next question. But I want to.
Oh, USC. I think that was where the research was done. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
So one of the comments, I have a friend I've known for over 25 years who got involved in some crazy stuff that landed him in federal prison for over 10 years. I believed him to be innocent, and he was ultimately pardoned. Yeah. Yeah, the justice system, like, and this is the thing, people feel that just because a jury has passed down some kind of verdict and a judge has passed some kind of sentence or something, that, well, that's it. Like, oh, that person's a bad person. No, there's a lot of innocent people, like, and there's a lot of good people who are wrongfully incarcerated or punished for stuff that it just it happens all the time. And this is why, this actually goes back to the whole thing, like blind obedience. But actually, we should go on to the next question, because this is a really, really good one.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is, I guess I'm reading this one. So the question is, or the statement, I guess, is, no one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it.
So you would guess that I would strongly disagree with this, but I just kind of disagree with this, and only because it makes it sound like where you're born is like the only reason to be proud of it. Like that, I think, yeah, that's ridiculous. Just because you're born here, that's why you're proud of it. No. But if you've got a real reason, like that it means something to you personally, I don't see any problem in having pride for whatever bucket you want to be in at the moment,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry. Do you have more points to
No,
make?
I mean, like that kind of sums up my opening opinion on it.
Yeah. I actually strongly agree with that statement. And I don't know if you meant to agree or disagree with that, because it is kind of phrased weird.
Oh yeah, I probably more agree, didn't I?
Yeah, agree. Well,
yeah,
that's okay.
yeah.
What you said afterwards completely clarifies that.
Yeah.
I strongly agree with this statement. Like, we are citizens of Earth. We're human beings first and foremost, and geography, yeah, that's a thing, and culture is a thing, but national borders, it's just lines on a map. It's all made up. Like, what country you're from or something, and nationalism is kind of, I don't really get it. I get it if you have like a culture that is part of who you grew up, your family lineage is part of. Sure, right, that makes sense. But just simply because you're born somewhere doesn't mean anything. Like, it literally means nothing. You were simply born in a place, in a latitude and longitude on planet Earth. That's it. That's all you did. So there's no reason to be proud of that. Like, oh, so you came out of your mother's uterus over there. You know, like that doesn't mean anything. And that's the thing. It's like people spend sometimes almost a decade trying to become US citizens from outside the US. But hey, if you give birth in the US, that person is automatically considered a citizen. Like the people, I know what these people have to go through. They have to pass all kinds of like inquiries, and they have to take an exam and prove they know all this stuff. And it's like, have you seen that dude on TikTok that asks people questions and they don't like they don't even know what country is above North or South Korea, you know? And the guy's just like, yes, whatever they answer. Like most US citizens don't know any of the stuff that the people trying to become US citizens are expected to learn.
Well, then they complicate it even further. It's like, it's not even good enough to be born on this dirt, but somebody or somebody's has to claim you, and those somebodies have to be already citizens.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you're born here, that's not good enough. You're not an American or whatever. Like, it's like, how far are you going to tighten this knot?
Exactly. Like what and why? What's the rationale behind that? I mean, come on, explain yourself.
Yeah.
Like, what is the reason for that? No, like it's fine to be proud of something. I think it's kind of stupid to be proud of something as big as the US or you know, that's a big place. There is really no US.
You have no direct personal contribution to that being a thing. You know, so like, why have that much pride in it?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, sure, it's fine to be, you know, I'm kind of fond of Tacoma because I was born here. I've lived here. I've been here most of my life. And I kind of have a little Tacoma pride because I like the place. But this is the place that I rode my bike around when I was 8 years old, you know, like I like it. I know people here, you know, this is kind of my home turf. That makes sense. And I can connect with my Scandinavian heritage because my grandparents and stuff, like there's a familial link there where they were always talking about things. And they always like
someone just made a comment about heritage.
Oh yeah.
And that's a good blend. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like to be proud of heritage because it's just history. I mean, like, for one thing, the appeal to tradition is a huge logical fallacy. So this whole idea of like, well, it's always been done that way. That's how it has to be done. It's the exact same effect that you build by having one line shoot the retreating guy, and the same for them. Like you build this network of phobia.
Well, yeah, and it should be a network of love, really. Going back
that sounds like an album title, Network of Love.
Oh man, ooh, that should happen.
If we were an 80s band.
Yeah, exactly. Heritage, the thing about heritage, it should be something of remembrance. It should be something, it's enjoyable to connect with the past. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you make it part of your being, like a immovable stone shell around yourself, that I think is a problem. Especially when you use that shell as a barrier against others. It should be something celebrated and celebratable by everybody. And this is something about the current culture that in the US that I really detest. Where it's like, well, if you're not one of these people, you can't, there's no way you can like do this or enjoy that thing because you're not this or you're not that. Like, the hell I can't. Like, I can appreciate these things. When I was a little kid, I loved Japanese culture. I was all into ninjas and I studied the history of Japan and like the samurai and things. It just fascinated me to no end. And still to this day, it's
did your thesis on sweetons?
Yeah. Well, but still to this day, it's kind of, you know, near to my heart. Like I've never set foot in Japan, but I feel a connection. Like when I hear the stories, I feel a connection. There's stories that I hear out of Africa that I totally feel a connection. And really that speaks to the fact that we're all humans and we have shared similar experiences, but we just tell different stories in different ways. And we build our cultures in different ways. And those are awesome. And yeah, tying it back to the whole globalism thing in the beginning, sure, we get watered down a bit. You got Taco Bell or something, right? That's not really Mexican food, but if it weren't for the Mexican food influence, there would be no Taco Bell.
Saying it's not Mexican is kind of the true Scotsman, though. It's like, well, it's not really Mexican food. Well, where do we get to draw the line?
That's a good question. Is like, what makes something authentic?
Yeah.
But we have some comments.
Well, yeah, there's a whole good conversation going on in the comments. I don't think we could, sufficiently blend the two, but there is some good stuff that we could talk about here.
Well, we can at least. There's one comment: you could be a dual citizen if you're born to a U.S. citizen and a foreign national in another country. Yeah,
it's true. Not that easy. I've actually just been reading up on that. Like it's not as automatic as, and that's what I was saying a few minutes ago. It's like, oh, they made it harder. Now it's not even good enough to just be born on the soil. Mm-hmm. It's more about who claims you and owns you and makes you dependent upon.
Yeah. Oh, wait, we should be clicking on these questions. I don't know if you have.
Oh, I couldn't even tell the difference between agree and disagree. So,
oh, maybe we shouldn't be. We'll just people know where we stand. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Before we run.
I read this one to you. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think our topic was drifting this way, actually. So the statement is
good at that.
Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races.
I strongly disagree with that. I mean, I would, if a person asked me that question, I would say, define race.
Yeah.
Tell me what a race is. And of course, they'd probably fumble.
That's where one bloke runs faster than the other.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, in that sense, then yeah, the 100-meter dash is the superior race. What? Yeah, I mean, how can anybody possibly think that? Especially with the kind of connection that we have today, we can see all the amazing things that people do. It's like you can't think that like anybody anywhere is smarter, faster, stronger, better. Like you've got a mix of all of
banner, faster, stronger.
Exactly. Daft Punk for the win. You could see a mix of all of those qualities anywhere you go. And so yeah, there's absolutely no way that any country or genetic variation of humans is better than another. I mean, we're all evolving together, right? Like we won't know who's better until 1,000 years from now, and then we'll be asking the same question again. Right?
Yeah. It's kind of funny. Like I started thinking I would rather people put themselves into buckets of race by like the way you and I feel that we have very different thinking patterns, but we have been pretty much aligned on the same things. Like why not paint things in that light of being constructive with your interactions with your neighbors instead of destructive?
Yeah.
Like make that your focal point, your climax, if you will. It is like
demonetize.
really good instead of doing really bad.
I get what you're saying. Like
an anti-war.
Yeah, well, why is our metric always who is higher up the chain rather than some other, like a lateral metric instead? Shouldn't we be just simply appreciating things
are
for
we
what
all
they
goats?
Are we all goats?
We're just trying to be like king of the mountain.
Yeah, well, in a way, I mean, when you're measuring things on some kind of really superficial uh, yardstick as race, um, whatever the hell that is. But and then what makes a thing, like I asked before, what is race? Okay, if you
Baby,
answer
don't
that
hurt
question,
me.
what makes one thing superior to another? What is tell me, define for me a superior state of being, because everybody has different pros and cons, so it's subjective, really. Like it's a completely subjective thing. Some people might be like, well, whoever's stronger, but it's like, well, okay, but then the clever person is the one that usually wins. And if you say it's a more the clever person, well, how about the faster person? What about the person that lives the longest? The wisest person? Who knows? And that is not a genetic thing, too.
Huh. I wonder if on some level, all of our interpretations are based around what makes us feel trapped. And we just hyper focus on that and build this network of thought that is the thing to avoid. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that made sense.
Yeah,
I
did.
A while back, somebody made the comment drunk pit bulls because we had just released today a minute microscopy on pit bulls that I had already recorded drunk and forgot that I recorded it. But I remembered that I knew I wanted to record it. So I was going to record it and I recorded it. And then I went to save it and it was already there. And I was like, oh, what's this? And I'm all, pit bulls are sweet, and
oh my God. I've done the same thing. Like, at least
so I did a little picture in picture and had it playing simultaneously.
I was actually, I really want to watch that. I didn't have a chance yet, but I want to see that one. We have a comment. I'm a cat. I already rule the world. Yes, that is. Well, we
look at that.
We have a Floyd right here.
Floyd shows up just at the right time.
I know.
Like he's a witch's familiar.
Could be. Yes. We will just avoid that conversation. Let's move on to the next topic before we get too divergent, because there's quite a few questions here. Let's see. I think it's this is 4, so that would be you, I think.
4. No, I already read that one. The 4th one. The race having superior qualities.
Did you read that or did I read that?
I think I read that.
I'm pretty sure I did. But let's just start over. Andrew Finnegan, begin again. We'll just kind of flip whatever goes. As long as we're like taking turns with the questions.
Finnegan. Okay, Finnegan. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Then I read this one.
Okay.
This next one.
Sure. All right.
Okay. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
I think I kind of disagree with that. I've always felt in conflict situations, I've always felt it makes more sense to see people as friends rather than enemies.
Yeah.
And like I get the point of the statement, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but like if you just became friends with somebody that is an enemy of that person, it kind of gives you a perspective into their whole conflict in their life, like why they are the way they are. And I think you're able to take the time to learn that sort of thing about each other in a perfect world, where people thought more constructively instead of destructively, you know.
Yeah.
Building these piles of rubble to build and climb their own mountains so they can look over everyone else and say, I am the king of the mountain.
An empire of dirt. That's what Putin's going to be left with, by the way.
Those are song lyrics.
Yeah.
Empire.
Johnny Cash.
Well,
Johnny Cash
9 Inch
did
Nails.
that. Yeah, 9 Inch Nails and Johnny Cash. They both did versions of that song.
Yeah, but it was actually 9 Inch Nails.
I prefer original. The Johnny Cash version like that.
I mean, I do too, but which is funny because like I really like, you know, industrial music, but
yeah. The Johnny Cash one, it just was so moving, and it was one of the last songs that he did before he died.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. For what I feel about this, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I would say I definitely disagree with that. I think it changes the dynamic, but I don't think your enemy's enemy a friend becomes.
Right.
Like they're not your friend. They might be your ally, right, for a minute, because you have to deal with something, but they're not your friend, and no. But I do agree that we shouldn't really have enemies. There should always be that focus on constructivity, positive energy, not negative energy.
Huh. You know, there's kind of an interesting war brewing in the comments right now, I think.
Yeah.
About heritage and whether or not it's, you know, ridiculous to see pride in that, or if there's some merit behind it, and that could almost be a discussion point in itself.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and I guess I see the comment, and I get it. It's absolutely okay to feel pride about your culture and where you came from and your family and whatnot, your history, lineage, whatever. But I think the problem is when people compare one to another and say, well, you know, my history is better than your history.
Yeah.
I'm a better, you know, like we went through like so much more, or we got so much further, or something like that.
Yeah.
That doesn't really do anybody any service. It's not helping anything.
Yeah. I'm trying to get myself away from that type of thinking where I'm not so harsh on religion now. It's more like, I mean, we can be coloring on the same page and like, you know, run over each other's lines here and there and like kind of see into other perspectives and you know, like if somebody doesn't think the same way you do, that's not automatically a reason to find yourself at odds with them.
Yeah.
But I feel like we kind of do that, or have that road rage feeling when we just start getting too close to something that we don't maybe like.
And that actually, that goes back to what I was saying before, like about the political parties, right? That you're expected to behave a certain way. If you proclaim that I am this, right? This is my belief system, or I'm part of this group, then you have to follow the doctrine of the group, like unwaveringly,
Yeah.
which is nonsense. That's how things get worse, not better. Evolution, like good evolution, requires there to be wiggle room where people can like test out other things, and science, right? This is how you do things.
Yeah. Catholicism isn't a big deal because it's the best thing ever. It might be kind of dumb, but have that brute strength, like
force of numbers.
Yeah, Catholicism is like the T-Rex. It's like, I'm really big and powerful and people are scared of me, but I'm just an idiot, And
I have tiny hands.
That's Catholicism.
It kind of is.
Still domineering over everything, but
and that's not to say that the all the ideas are bad. Like with religions, I think there's good and there's bad, just like anything else. And ultimately, if we were able to work together and talk together and discuss our ideas, well, we could just discard all of the bad things and embrace all the good things, and the world would be awesome. But these systems impose their will on people, like trying to force them to be in a box, to hyper love themselves and hyper hate everything else. And
well, I like to hyper love myself.
Me too. I might have to do that after this episode. That said, we should probably, before we're demonetized again for that one time where we were there was that nudity strike. I don't know how that happened.
Oh man.
Okay, so
all right. I guess I'm reading this one. I love how there's these like mini cyclones of KSMs going on.
This is awesome. I love this. This is fun.
We're using our own channel as a verb now. All right. This statement says, military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. Ooh, that'll be a good one.
I wouldn't say I strongly disagree, but I would definitely disagree with that. Because it comes down to like who defines international law and what is that, like what are the rules of the game essentially. So defying those rules can sometimes be an okay thing if the rules are bad, right? Like, I mean, imagine if Germany in the 1930s and 40s basically took over Europe and said, well, we're creating HATO. Like, we're these are the rules, these are international rules. Like, okay, well, if something is wrong, not following it is not a bad thing. And sometimes there's ambiguity, and it's okay to do something when there's no clear path.
There comes a point where everybody has to kind of get along with each other or play that they believe each other on certain things in order to like move with the flow and just keep going. Like, let go of some things that maybe aren't so important. I feel like on this one, I'm just slightly on the other side of the fence, but for a lot of the same reasons. Because like I feel like there is kind of a crowd intelligence that can kind of see like the path of least resistance in the current of thinking. If that makes any sense.
It does.
So not like a higher power necessarily, but more of that. Well, whatever phenomenon creates something that's viral, right? Like these are little pockets of things that like shoot out and pull our society along, right? Like,
Mhm.
oh, this meme was really funny. I'm pulling in this direction as a culture, and you know, at however small a focus you're looking at that point when you say
Yeah.
culture. But you know, all of it is moving towards some kind of sociological effect.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it is kind of an evolutionary force too. That the like,
I guess
although
that's probably too meta for the whole international law defiance
no,
using the military, but
I get where you're coming from. Um, yeah,
I mean, really, I already stated that I think it's ridiculous that we have these international borders and laws to do one thing or another that has nothing to do with the line and space that you drew. Like,
exactly. No, I completely agree with that, and I think like international law really should more be like rules of the game that are independent, like principles. The
yeah,
principles that, like, for instance, people are all bent and like caught up in the Constitution in the US, but it's not the Constitution. That doesn't matter. Those are just statements that people made. It's the Declaration of Independence that outlines the principles upon which the Constitution was founded. That is much more of an important document because there are no real rules. It's kind of like, well, we hold these truths to be self-evident, right? You know, that kind of thing. Like it's a
we as a collective society had to agree that praising our individuality was an important thing. So, like, that's kind of at the core of everything.
it kind of is, yeah, and it was for the time very revolutionary. That was a new thing. I mean,
Mhm.
before that, there were like kings everywhere.
Yeah.
So the idea that everybody is a king is kind of, well, it's like, yeah, very revolutionary.
Communism.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's right up there. Um,
That is interesting. We kind of started out as, like OG communism, didn't we?
yeah, kind of. Yeah, that's an interesting thing.
That
Oh,
could be an
we're
episode.
gonna there's a lot of questions, so we should probably move
Okay.
on. I think you asked two questions in a row, but I don't remember. But
Oh, maybe I did. Yeah. I don't
uh,
know.
oh,
Uh,
we have a comment. I am God and you are God. Yeah, this is true.
I am he.
Well, I would ask, like, prove me wrong. That like, prove to me that I'm not a god. Hmm.
I hear like
Okay.
Barry White music queuing up.
And people would be inclined to be like, well, I could just kill you. And I'd be like, you're not actually killing me. You're destroying this particular mortal form that I've come down to this planet to interact with you as. But I'm not dead. I will be the dog that you encounter next. How would you
Cowabunga.
know? So okay, anyway, let's oh better open another beer, but I better ask the question first.
Oh, I didn't even see the next page button. Wow, there are more of
Yeah,
these,
there's a
aren't there?
few. Yeah, yeah, and I don't know if we have to click buttons to go to the next page, but we'll find out after this one. So, next question or statement. There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment.
Ooh. I guess by my hesitation, I can't say strongly anything, but I guess I agree. um, I see benefits in, these certain raw interactions that people have where entertainment is the more important thing. Like I see a big value in not stigmatizing wanting to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's okay to have that as a need, right? Like there's no reason to be like ashamed of, needing to fulfill these emotions or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's completely natural. So,
Well, nobody wants to be bored.
yeah. So like to draw lines between information and entertainment is a little weird because I think they kind of just blend together. You're more inclined to like listen to another person's story if it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
So to have this art form that entertains people but also delivers messages, whether it's educational in the textbook sense or educational in a societal sense, I think it all has a really great benefit in kind of being a long-term form of watching the news, is just following a culture.
Yeah. Well, I think I've had enough beer to say the globalists are taking over. Like infotainment, things like Alex Jones, John Oliver is another good example. A little less crazy, but still, it's infotainment. Might be a good thing because news is dry. If somebody simply states what the facts, what's happening, it doesn't engage people enough to people just read the headline and move on, which sadly they do all too often now. So having something that gets people like motivated to learn more, I think is good. It is a very delicate balance between providing information and getting people riled up to the point where they ignore actual truth, like the facts, and they start going down into some kind of corner of the internet and thinking that like all kinds of crazy ass things are happening.
Well, you've heard of the study, right, where like an overwhelming majority of people disagreed with the statement that we should be teaching Arabic numerology in school. It's like, okay, show me a 4, draw me a 4, like there you are, you're using the Arabic numerology.
Yeah.
Freaking idiot. Like, why aren't you thinking?
Well, maybe people confused it with Roman numerals. But then again, maybe we should be teaching
those are all
Roman
I's and C's and X's and
this
L.
is the thing.
That's it.
Every time there's a Super Bowl, everybody Googles the Google Trends show like what are Roman numerals? Like people don't know how to read those. So maybe we should be, if nothing else, just so that they know what the hell year of the Super Bowl it is. Like, yeah, it's a really funky, quirky system. Arabic numerals make a lot more sense. But
it's funny we got from infotainment to Arabic numerals. Like,
yeah, well, and it's going to go back to idiocracy. I mean, we are kind of in that. I don't know. I go back and forth between asking the question of like, should we accept the fact that people have short attention spans and like they aren't willing to even listen to anything unless there's like pyrotechnics and a bunch of intro music and stuff like that going on, like and flashy outfits and like, or should we go more like essentially force people to listen to the facts.
If this were an edited episode, we could throw in a little clip of our theme song, where we're all flashing and have a theme song.
Yeah. And maybe perhaps I don't know, maybe this might be human evolution at work, that we're that's weird. I said evolution many times in a row here, but it is we are constantly evolving. We're as a culture and as a species, those two things are totally different. And
talking about an evolution, baby.
Well, perhaps we're kind of I actually last Christmas, I think it was, I defended emojis and memes.
Oh yeah.
As a proper form of communication in the modern age.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that is actually how, like, you can convey with a picture or a symbol way more than you can with 1,000 words.
Yeah. And there's even like intent on it and dialect, and like it's really like a fourth dimension kind of communication.
Yeah, and it's ever changing. So maybe our method of absorbing and conveying information is changing, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It could be not. I guess time will tell. But I do worry a little bit about things getting a little too Alex Jonesy, where things go too far in the direction of entertainment and energetic emotiveness, I guess, and kind of ignore the facts. That could be a problem, and especially when things happen so fast on planet Earth, where people are more inclined to react in the moment rather than contemplate and take some time, because information used to travel very slowly. Prior to the telegraph, it was like the Pony Express, right? You had letters, handwritten letters, and then you had people carrying scrolls and stuff like that, and smoke signals and things. Actually, smoke signals would be a faster method of communication than a Pony Express. But anyway, speed of light, right? But very slow communication. I do worry that maybe the problem isn't information and entertainment combining, but maybe it's the density of both.
Yeah.
That we're so assailed with data all the time, all day long. There's so much noise. It's hard to tell your left hand from your right. Like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah. Like,
I don't know, because there's contradictory things. If you simply, depending on how you phrase your search on the internet, you're going to get totally different results.
Yeah.
And
you're more inclined to move toward what makes you feel the most entertained. Like, you'll put
and the
your stock in
algorithm
that.
reinforces that. That is another thing.
Yeah.
The algorithm knows that that person clicked a whole bunch more because we gave them this. We'll give them more of that. It's like, well, wait, is that a good thing?
Who's the researcher there?
Ooh. It's
Are we
AI.
defining them, or are they defining us?
Damn, I think we better go on to the next page.
Oh yeah. Do I am I reading the next one, or you?
I read this one. So
I read this.
Let's see. Okay, good. I can go to the next page.
Wait.
Good. We can keep going.
Oh, it's not letting me move on without
clicking. Yeah, it's okay. Just click whatever. I'm just going to strongly disagree to everything.
All right.
That is what I do. There we go. I'm actually curious what the outcome
We're
is.
we're just
you
like
should strongly agree to everything, and I should strongly disagree.
just going into a bucket, like because whatever, fuck it, like.
Yeah. So what do we decide on? Am I reading this one, or
I
are
think
you?
I'm reading this one.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Oh yeah, I read the last one. That's right.
People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality.
Oh,
Whoa.
in actual fact, I agree with that. Like, although I think class is also kind of a made up construct, I think that defines people a lot more than nationality. And by class, I could say things like, where you live, your socioeconomic status.
It's more exclusive than inclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that this is very true. Like, so, well, let's just, for my own sake, I'll limit it to just socioeconomics. Like, where you live, how much money you make, your family's monetary history and things. Yes, that absolutely defines you. Yeah, and that is what divides people. The haves and the have-nots. Like, I don't like the idea of putting people in categories based on class, because I think that's another thing. It's the same thing as defining people by race, but it is a thing that affects people. Like, if you don't have the resources to move through life effortlessly, and to make mistakes without losing everything, yeah, you're in a different place than the people who can do that. So absolutely. And nationality, well, it's like, where do you live in relation to these lines on a map? Depending on the country, of course, because some countries are they're very picky about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Geez, I don't know exactly where I land on that. People are, so this is more like a really direct statement. Like, people are ultimately divided more by class than nationality. I don't know that it's as popular to even notice that you're being divided by a class, but it's super easy. Like we've been talking about off and on, like the whole concept of citizenship and how ridiculous it is. Like, that means we put a lot of stock into this as a species. Like, there's some reason this imaginative cloud is over us. Like, we all feel like we need that blanket for some reason, whatever.
Well, if we go off of my previous definition of class as being socioeconomics, like, you can overcome nationalistic differences if you have the resources,
right?
But it doesn't go the other way around.
You mean like you can't overcome economic stuff just because of status?
Well, because you were born in a different country, but you can overcome almost anything if you have financial or connections, let's say.
Yeah.
And so I do think and that does divide people, because that comes back to the haves and the have-nots. Like, who can actually do that? Who can overcome that? Like, well, like you're saying, like, going into another country and stuff, it's expensive. It is not cheap, especially in the US. Actually, there's other countries that are even crazy more expensive. Some countries are impossible. Well, okay, they're not impossible, because if you have the connections, you can make it happen. Like, you got enough money, you could definitely pay your way into any country.
Why does this sound like the beginning of the Bionic Man?
Huh.
Or the $6 billion man, whatever it was. We have the money.
No. You're this is the 70s. There's a $6 million man.
Oh, $6 million.
Yeah, now it's 6 billion. Inflation. It's a bitch.
Oh god.
Guess we
$1
better
million.
checking things. We better be checking things as we go along.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. We have a comment. Well, we have multiple comments. I'll agree to disagree there. That was probably the last page.
We don't have to read everyone if it doesn't make any sense anymore.
No. On one hand, how many people consider the highest class the 1%ers? Well, yeah, they do, because
the 1%ers are a pretty huge net for being called 1%, by the way.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that there's not like a very few people pulling the strings, but it's also like there's shitty people that are kind of riding the action potential.
Yeah, it's all about control. Like the deception is it's all about money. It's not. It's about control, because that system controls the money as well. So they don't really need it. It's absolutely about control. And I don't think the people that it's more about connections. It's more about how much manipulation you have of the system than anything else. You could have like $0 to your name and still control the system if you have connections. Like all the money in the world might mean nothing if you don't have any connections. But that's the thing. It's a very good trick to deceive people to think that money is the goal, so that they're focused on that while you're just like cleaning house on the side and laughing all the way to the bank, I guess. I mean,
this might be a good transition to the next question, actually.
Mm-hmm. So this is me, right?
Reading, yes.
Okay, yeah. That's the most important. I'm just going to click strongly disagree in advance, because that's what I'm doing. I want to see what happens. So the statement is controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. Ooh.
I'm gonna say I agree with this, not necessarily strongly. I think that you can get more from reining in that inflation, because that all came about from moving a goalpost. It's like that's the one thing you shouldn't do, because the ripple effect of that hypocrisy is, it can be damaging. So like, I don't know, there comes a point where needs will still get met as a society, but like calling something employment or not employment, like putting all this bureaucracy on how we can make money to survive, I think that's bullshit. Like saying, oh, you can't steal an apple and then sell it. And it's like, well, if that's what they had to do and it actually doesn't hurt the person they stole from nearly as much as it would hurt them if they died the next morning from starvation. I mean, come on.
Well,
are we really going to be that fucking picky about somebody taking an apple of the people?
He was caught stealing an apple of the people. Kneel, citizen.
Who's your colonel?
Jake Bullet, cybernautics.
That's traffic control.
Red Dwarf references are plenty. Okay. That's actually no. This is very simple for me. I would say neither. If there were a neutral answer, I would give that, because I don't think controlling either is the job of a governmental system. In fact, I think that is why we're in the mess we are in right now, is because idiots are trying to, like, there are a bunch of idiots wrestling in treacle, trying to figure out the best way to do things when there is no way. We just need to just leave it alone. Like everything is a cycle. Inflation, unemployment, they're all cycles and they're all interacting. Like, just leave it alone. Stop. Like, we've controlled it enough. Like, I think by now we can realize that we've done enough damage trying to control things. And
stop, collaborate, and listen.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, people should be like, it's like, I don't know. We've done enough damage. We need to stop and just let things be. Like, things will settle out. Humans will sort their own shit out. We don't need a bunch of bureaucrats at the top. We don't need a bunch of people who got more check boxes than others deciding the fate of everybody else, as if they somehow have omniscient abilities and can know the best way to do things, because, like, they're both at odds. Well, the main systems are at odds with each other, so it's like, okay, well, you can't both be right. Right? There has to be a better way. And oh man. So
yeah.
I mean, but I do think inflation is more important of an issue, like something that people should be paying way more attention to than unemployment. Like, and
I think we're pretty aligned on that.
Mm-hmm.
The next question should be a bit of a headbutt, though, I bet. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation.
Oh, man. Okay, well, this might be a bit of a headbutt, but maybe not so big of a headbutt that you think it might be. I do disagree with this, but with caveats. Corporations are made of people, just like Soylent Green, but they are not people. But there are actual human beings who work at companies and have their own concerns about things, and, you know, some do better than others. I think the bigger a system becomes, big corporations, like really behemoth ones, start to lose sight of their mission, or their connection with the world around them. So we should be a lot more critical of them. But I don't think that automatically corporations can't be trusted. That because it's like, well, okay, well, corporations really aren't that indistinguishable from government and bureaucracies. So should we just not trust the government to regulate too? Like, who's right here? I mean, who's eating this chicken? Like, we don't know.
That's a good point. Because I kind of agree for a lot of the same reasons that you disagree.
Yeah.
Like, it is one of those things that gets really gray.
It does. And this is something I'm completely willing to admit. I feel on the fence about it. I feel very gray about it. But I think The impetus is not on the government or corporations to sort themselves out. It's on the individual. It's on activists. It's on people who care about things that matter to take it upon themselves to effect change. That's the only way we can affect change. You're not going to affect change by casting a vote. That's not going to affect change. You're not going to affect change by boycotting a company or buying more from a company. Like, that doesn't affect change. You affect change by interacting with people, by changing the hearts and minds of people and making a movement. That's how you affect change. And yes, sometimes it involves things like emojis and a meme war or something like that. But that is the way. And maybe there's a better way. I don't know what the best way is, but I know for a fact the best way is not regulation. Regulation has done far more to harm the environment. It's done far more to harm us as a populace, everything than
it's a whole episode there.
Yeah. It is wholly destructive. Like, I get that. I'm not like totally shitting on it. I get the point. I get the sentiment, but the evidence doesn't bear that out.
I think you have more problem with the severity of punishment for going against it.
Well, yeah, maybe, but
and on that, I totally like agree and empathize. Like, I think it's good to have these regulations, but not be so black and white with what constitutes, adhering to that regulation.
Yeah, like I definitely, you're right. Like the severity of punishment and really honestly, punishment being an outcome is also a problem. I think this is the thing.
If you've ever been in a situation where you thought it's not fair that nobody is allowed to consider my situation against others like it, and make a decision based on that rather than what this piece of paper says they have to decide.
Well, and this is the thing, is like, when that piece of paper becomes law, it becomes the holy book, the doctrine. Like, everybody adheres to it
only because we all think that, right?
But yet,
like at what level is there actually like some divine punishment against us?
Well, the thing is, like, it's not evidence-based. Like, okay, this is the thing. I completely eschew the whole like building code thing. Like, I think as a construct, as a punitive system, I think it's terrible. As a concept, like, conceptually, I totally agree with it. From an engineering standpoint, having a book where we collect all of our mistakes together and say, hey, here, if you're doing this, you ought to do it this way. And it should be freely available to everybody. I wholeheartedly agree with that. It should be a guidebook, and we should make it part of our culture that, hey, if you're trying to build a shed or something, pick up the code book about shed building and build it this way, because this is the rightest way we know how to do it right now. And yeah, it's probably going to change, but follow these things and it'll be strong, it'll be safe, and it'll work.
We got a good comment here.
Oh,
people have lost their jobs for not following regulations. And it's like, I can see situations where you would have to fire someone if they were like, the bad guys on Captain Planet who are like tipping a 50-gallon barrel upside down and like laughing about it as they dump it into the ocean, like getting their nice suit dirty. Like, what is that kind of cartoon shit?
Yeah. I would fire them for sure.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you have to flex a little.
And actually, Captain Planet's a good example. I love Captain Planet. I like, even though I think the bad guys are ridiculous, I love it. I think I get the intent, and it's kind of fun. It's a fun story. But there are no bad guys, like mustache twirling bad guys that are out there specifically making it a point to destroy things intentionally. Actually, like, so much damage is caused unintentionally. It's just people making mistakes. That's what causes most of these problems. And this is where free sharing of information is important and making it part of our culture. Okay, we have some comments.
There's a lot of good comments in here. Also, a number of corporations, particularly multinationals, adhere to stricter standards than are required by law, simply because that's the right thing to do. That's almost like a societal decision that we've agreed upon right there. Is like, is it really bad to have regulation, or is it just a marketing tool for people to say, you know what, here's the line and here's what we'll offer? You know,
well, and here's the thing: you can have food safety inspection and get the stamp of approval, and people still get E. coli. Like, it's not a guarantee that things are going to be safe.
Yeah, there's still the handling of it, and
yeah, it begins and ends with each of us. We have to care about it for it to work. So that's the thing. None of the regulations matter. None of the punishments happen after the fact. Like, people get sick and die. Okay, well, that doesn't bring them back from the dead. You know, what would have prevented them from dying is for people to be conscious of that, to care about it. So they're like, hey, I'm going to be a little more cautious because I don't want everybody to get sick. And speaking about like multinational corporations and stuff, yeah, like, not only is it the right thing to do, it's also good for business because, well, the first rule of business let's say illicit substance trading business, you don't kill your customers. That is a very bad thing to do because that's the last time they're going to be a customer.
Yeah,
you know,
that's why way back in season 1, we did that episode on the chemtrails. I was like, why poison the same air you breathe?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like, who would do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically like just putting a bullet in your head or something. That's insane.
Yeah. Cutting the arm off to spite the finger or whatever.
Your nose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but firing someone for dumping more than a gallon of milk down a drain, that's an actual regulation. Oh, and also the natural milk too. People have been like imprisoned for that, for the unpasteurized milk trading. Like, this is okay. I've seen a video of this where this group of people were trading unpasteurized milk, and the feds, SWAT teams, came in with machine guns because of fucking milk. Like, kicked down the door, pointed guns at people over milk.
Oh my God.
The insanity. Why?
The fact that sounds believable is really sad, actually.
I mean, it happened. And this is what's even stupider. We've been drinking milk for eons. Like, pasteurization is like a new
We're not
thing.
even supposed to be drinking milk as adults.
Well, okay, that's
especially
true,
from another animal. Like,
okay, but that's true. But we've been doing it safely for a long time, and making cheese out of milk and stuff. Like, milk and milk products have been a part of human culture for a long time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's been unpasteurized. Like, pasteurization, 1800s, I think, right? Like, that's when that happened. Louis Pasteur. And it's been fine. Nobody cared about that until we discovered pasteurization, and then we're like, oh well, it all has to be pasteurized.
Well, it's more complicated. It has to do with keeping it safer longer to distribute further to a growing population. You know, like, it's the natural kind of evolution of what has to be done first in order for this infrastructure to work. right?
You're right. And in fact, business makes that a thing. Like transportation. Like if you have a thing that spoils too early, well, when it goes to market, you're not going to be able to sell it. They're going to be like, well, that's curdled milk. I'm not going to buy that. That's awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So using the technology would just be natural. Why does it have to be enforced? Like, and why the fucking SWAT teams? Oh my God. I'm going to start like getting all, I'm going to go crazy. We have to move on to the next question, I think.
Okay. Who's reading what then?
Let's see. I think it's me. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to just automatically click strongly disagree because I'm curious. Oh, this is a good one. From each according to his ability, each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea.
Fundamentally, strongly agree. On paper, I think that's a really good and fair statement. Like detach all of your, attachments of, oh, well, if this, then that, right? Like, and just think about that statement from each according to his ability to each according to his need. I mean, most people's needs are pretty similar, pretty basic, and can be provided en masse for very little expenditure of discomfort on our part.
Mm-hmm.
But according to ability, like, it just makes sense to have people who are good at something be able to do that thing and be compensated for it. So fundamentally, when you simplify things like that, I totally strongly agree with that. And why not have that be your goal, right?
Well, this may shock you, but I strongly disagree. Or no, sorry, I strongly agree. I strongly agree on that. Like, I think that statement holds true. Like,
yeah,
I don't think it should be the foundation of a regulatory or governmental system, but a societal system, absolutely. Absolutely.
To have that be a goal of society, just like the goal of America was independence and liberty, right? And this is what was born of it, and that's not a bad or a good thing. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean we shouldn't like branch out and form new countries or whatever bucket of ideals you want to contain things in.
Well, we could get into the balkanization of the US because that would be a good one.
Balkanization of thought.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, as a concept, that statement makes a lot of sense. And it comes down to the humanity of things. So you play to your powers, what you're strong at, and if you can get more, accomplish more, acquire more resources, whatever, more influence or something like that, well, share it with the people who have less. That, like, why not? I mean, there's so much joy in that. Like, the joy gained from winning the lottery is nothing compared to the joy of sharing food with a homeless person or somebody who needs help, like your resources. Like, we should be doing that. That should be humanity's goal, especially now. Like, we have the resources. The planet has so much. Like, we know we can do so much. And technologically, we're so far beyond where we were. We're way far separated from the hunter-gatherers of the past.
You sound like me right now.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, we're not so dissimilar in our views. And that's the thing. Like, we ought to be helping everybody we can. Like, see a need, fill a need. Like, whether you're somebody who is an engineer and you've come up with a novel product, and or a business person that, like, oh, I've got a bunch of money, I can finance this crazy wild idea, you know, or something like that. Or maybe you're a promotional kind of person and you can, like, get something to go viral, so everybody crowdfunds something like planting trees across the whole planet, you know, to solve a problem. Like, we can do this. The thing is, we can, individually and collectively, we can do this. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got an idea. Why don't we, before we move on to the next question, because, like, reading ahead, like, I can tell it's gonna go a while. Why don't we take a bathroom break here? But I figured each of us could take turns speaking to the viewer about why they should support the show in some way or another, and give ourselves a live commercial to take a leak.
Good. So I guess it comes down to, like, who has to piss more, because I actually am feeling the urge myself.
Well, I suggested the idea, so I will give the first commercial.
Okay, all right. I'll be back really quick then.
All right.
Okay, you go for it.
So we haven't been doing a whole lot of recorded episodes lately, but if you stick around to the end of each recorded episode, you'll notice that there's a song, a little clip of a song. And we, put these songs out there on Patreon. I mean, we're also on Spotify and iTunes and all that stuff, but you get, like, fractions of a penny for every play or whatever. And, they won't even cut a check past us up to a certain point. And, like, there's no real, like, monetary support from that, but something like patreon.com/KSMvidcast, that could do us a great deal of help in, creating this soundboard for new ideas and old ideas that really need to be kind of dusted off and looked at from the perspective of the present. If you like supporting that kind of thing, why not head over to patreon.com/KSMvidcast. For just $2.50 a month, you can listen to those songs that we work so hard to create, support the show a little bit, and we would forever be in your for once I'm at a loss for vocabulary. Too much beer, as my bladder is reminding me. Oh, just in time.
Oh, that's okay.
Here comes our...
You are hereby relieved for a moment. Oh, man. Well, let's hope he makes it through safely and dryly. So, yeah. I don't know what Casey said, but yeah, we do all kinds of videos, live streams, definitely fun. We do whole episodes and minute microscopies. Got to check those out. The odd music video and stuff. Yeah, we got a website too, ksmvidcast.com. It's not really updated because, well, there's only two of us, and it's a hell of a lot of work to maintain it. Actually, I do want to reply to some comments really quick. Oh, well, there's a new comment. We need more live shows. Okay, well, we'll do that because I this is actually something I really love. Live shows are my favorite, so I guess we'll have to do more. Let's see. I'm going to rewind a little bit. But does a disabled person need less? Because I saw that and I was thinking about it.
Are we getting some requests for more live episodes?
Yes. Yeah. Live.
Yeah.
Live is the thing, I guess, which I'm fine with. Like,
I would say that that is a better way to go about things, I think.
Oh yeah. Well, I like the engagement and the randomness. Like, we don't know what comments are going to come our way, so
yeah,
I do kind of like that. I wanted to respond to a comment. Does
a disabled person need less?
Yeah.
Well, that depends. Like,
on the disability.
Yeah, and like in some cases you might need way more.
Yeah.
Somebody else says live shows. Yes, we did that for my 40th birthday coming up on a year ago. It would be cool to do that again. So if there's anybody who has like a friend with a venue or something and wants to set that up with us, we'd love to do that. You know, there's some technological stuff you got to overcome, but
that was so much fun.
It was, yeah.
Oh, that was good. Like a double live, like comments from actual people, and
that was the most unique, badass 40th birthday ever. I gotta say, cool. Like,
oh man. Well, let's go back to, does a disabled person need less? I mean, I guess, I don't know, and not really. I think people need different things. I don't know that. And then what is a disability? Don't we all really have a disability? I mean, I've got disabilities. I've got things that I can't do that other people can. Am I disabled? Is everybody disabled?
Yeah, I mean, isn't that the point of every token episode of everything that ever came out in the 80s? Like, disability is relative.
Yeah.
Like a person may not have any sight, but they might be able to like detect the perfect pitch, right? Like, and have that be a talent that can be exploited for money, like, yeah, like disability is kind of a weird concept. To like put a fine point on the fact that you can't do something.
And that's the thing, it's very selective in which things are
right. Congratulations, you can't use your legs.
Yeah, or
here's the thing to hang on your mirror.
Oh, you're a lefty, you have to buy the left-handed scissors now. Like, oh, come on. Well, and now also, if you're in the military and you're a lefty, you have to buy a left-handed gun. And otherwise they're hitting your face with brass, unless you have the P90. But yeah, like, what is a disability? I would argue that everybody has a disability. And sometimes, in fact, depending on the circumstances, these presumed disabilities are, in fact, our strengths. The shortcomings, the things that we have to overcome, like adversity yields strength. Those kinds of challenges, if we don't have those, we don't evolve, we don't improve, we don't learn. Like, so why should we look at anybody else who is different as being lesser than? Like, maybe they're more than. I'm thinking about like all the people who have all the stuff that everybody wants. They're all technically disabled. They have some kind of shortcoming. I know so many people who are completely healthy and competent, who have accomplished nothing in their lives. And I know so many people who like don't have an eye or an arm or something, and or like have some mental illness or something, and they're like billionaires and
Right.
statesmen and stuff like that. They
So
got
I guess we should probably go on to the
Mm.
next
the next one.
topic.
Yeah. Is this your one or mine?
Yeah, I'm reading this one. Yeah, and I thought this one was going to really spark its own thing. The
Yeah.
freer the market, the freer the people.
I mean, I do agree with that idea. I guess it depends on what makes a market or a people free. And I don't know that there's necessarily a correlation there, um, because there's so many factors affecting markets and people's lives, like when you involve bureaucracies and rules and regulations and stuff. Like, I don't know that you can draw a straight line between the two and just be like, oh yeah, you just do this then that, I don't know. But I think there's a seed of truth to that.
Oh, you know what we should be doing is asking the viewers when we start a discussion what they think we'll like, what the other person would actually answer as, and then see how close people guess.
Ooh,
that'd be kind of funny.
wasn't there something like the dating game or some dating
It's kind of like that, yeah.
Show that where you have to like,
what's your lover's favorite color?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah,
That'd be well. We could try that. We could definitely do that. There's also the other quiz that we can try too.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on this one?
Okay, so I actually like kind of softly agree with this as well. Like, I mean, the concept is, just like the communism discussion we just had about, to each their needs, and however much of
abilities,
yeah. Right? Yeah. It's a very similar concept, just in a different way. It's like, the market isn't really free. Like there is like a control to it, but the like apex of its force, I mean, I don't really know where you can triangulate that to exactly.
Yeah, and how you would determine if either were free.
Yeah, like it's easy to give something the illusion of being free while it's totally being manipulated and controlled. And
yes,
and
this is true.
And then we're busy squabbling over like how much of this like paper mache regulation is going to prevent us from like reaching this, like, I don't know. It's all a big mind fuck, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Existence in general.
Pretty much. I
I've
mean, I know we're going to probably go into some kind of territory of philosophical meandering. Yeah, I mean, I guess I do agree. So thinking about it, and as actually, like, from what you said, I've kind of thought about it a bit more. A free market is really important, and that comes down to what we've talked about all the way back to the globalization thing. Like,
yeah,
regular people being able to exchange their goods and services without interference. Like, hey, I make a thing, I'd like to trade you for this thing, whatever it might be it money, be it other goods or services, We should be able to do that. And that makes the world a better place. We need that. Like, it also makes the world a more connected place. And so maybe in that sense, a totally free market makes people as totally free as they can be within the confines of where we exist.
Right.
And the more we allow that to happen, the better things become. So I guess, maybe my sentiment has changed a little stronger to agreeing on that in a certain way, but probably not in the way that the average person would think when they see that phrase.
I see that as like the birthplace of a need for regulation, because if that is the goal, bettering everyone, you have to prevent two people from saying, hey, if you share a little bit of the extra with me and vice versa, let's screw over everyone else to get more of this. Well, you need to shut that shit down before it turns into a cancer.
You are correct conceptually. I think I agree with you on a conceptual level, but not on exactly what you're saying. That I don't think we need regulation, because again, who are the regulators? Who is in charge of this kind of system? It's the 1%ers, essentially. It's a bunch of elites. Like,
it should just be immediate geography,
Yeah, but I think I'm wholly in favor of arbitration. Like, there being some kind of agreed upon middleman, like a group of people, an organization, multiple organizations that we can go to and be like, hey, dude, we've got a problem.
Every law should start with the words, should arbitration fail, comma.
Yes.
Make that be law. Like, hey, work this shit out for yourselves. If that doesn't work, then we'll start this process. Like,
that's a perfectly sensible place to go.
Like, that's the line that needs to be crossed. If two people cannot figure this shit out on their own, now everybody has to dip their toes in this water.
Mm-hmm. And maybe it shouldn't be an elected position or something. Maybe it should be like a cultural or community position. Like, everybody gets involved.
Make this episode go viral, people. Timestamp this if you have to. But like, if that idea gets out, where we just have to get along, and if we don't, we'll ask our immediate neighbors to say, hey, what do you think's right here? Like, what should we do?
Well, and maybe deferring to the elders like we used to do back in the day.
But then you get into the tradition,
Well, no. Well, you could, but you also get into people who have experience, who have been there before, and we is our political system a better system where people with zero experience can make these kinds of heavy decisions for people? I would argue not. I'd rather my grandpa give advice to me and my friend who are arguing about something that we can't agree on than somebody I don't even know, like, basically handing down the hammer of the state on my head, sending me to prison or fining me for reasons unknown, and I have no recourse. I can't even appeal. Maybe there's a hybrid between the old and the new. I don't know, but we should go on to the next question, because cool. Okay, so let's see. So you did the last one, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the next statement or question: it's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product.
I'm inclined to strongly agree, but I do see the argument for, like, in order to make this available to a lot of people, you have to put in some resource to contain it. You're automatically at a disadvantage. You should be making money from that. That's fine. Like I see how free market and profit work in that small bubble, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fine with that. If like you go to a baseball game and you're trapped in the stadium and now that water is $16, that's bullshit.
Oh yeah, God, a $12 beer that's this big, where
you want to make that money, you charge it on the ticket to get in there. If people want to see baseball badly enough, they'll pay that money. You don't have to throw it on top of the fucking water.
Yeah, I mean, like a reasonable price makes sense. I agree. Like it does take resources. Somebody has to put together the collection facilities, the distribution.
Yeah. How many people like living paycheck to paycheck, hand to mouth, wanted to go to a local baseball game and had to skip the water because they couldn't afford it?
Yeah.
And then passed out of heat stroke at the baseball game and got trampled to death because the team won.
That's where Burning Man, the ultimate anarchist thing, like shines, because they were like handing out bottled water for free to people. It's like community built. Nice. And there's free medical, like medics, and it's great. It's just like the community coming together, like let's all have fun, we'll help people. That's a good thing. But even then, like bottled water, yeah, you don't have, not everybody has a river going right near their house, where not everybody should even expect that, because that's not how the earth is built.
Right.
Deserts, there are mountains, there are seas, there are lakes, like it's all over the place. There are forests. You don't have free access to clean, safe water. In fact, it's actually this is kind of a thing. It's a very modern, novel creation of our modern technological world that we have access to safe drinking water in the form of bottled water. Like
that's a good point.
Consistent bottled water is tested. You can look at the data, like it's consistent. Like, yeah, maybe sometimes it's tap water, but it's still tested. It's like,
well, even tap water to a great degree, probably most of the footwork actually is safe to drink because of all that like centralized regulation saying, hey, this is something everybody needs. We really have to be a community focused effort on this.
Well, sure. And
that's where government makes sense, right? Like actual need.
It goes back to the whole thing too. Like you don't kill your customer. Who would sign up for tap water in your house if it was Flint, Michigan?
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, since Flint is probably a government run operation, you can't disconnect from that shit. You have to accept that garbage coming into your house. If you don't, you're probably going to be fined. And Flint being kind of a poor area, yeah, I mean, that bugs me. But bottled water, it does come with some issues, environmental issues, the bottles and stuff. What do we do with those? And as a fan of bottled water, I mostly exclusively drink that. That's my vice environmentally. Like Captain Planet probably is not very happy at that.
But here's the thing though. If you think of it more as like, tap water is not really going to kill me, it's not really going to upset my chi. You can buy a 12-pack of bottled water and reuse each bottle with some tap water 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 times before you go buy another 12-pack.
This is true. Like if you live in Flint, you can go to other places that have safer water, and collect that in those used bottles, which you could totally reuse those multiple times.
Because like it's true, plastic is pretty fucked up for the environment. Is it also cheap, convenient, and very effective at doing what it does for our society? Like if you just took plastic away, I don't think anybody really bothers to take 5 minutes to think how much they depend on plastic in everyday life. Like deal with it. Like this is where we're at right now. It's not the thing to fix right now. Our dependence on plastic. It's not the thing to fix right now.
I kind of see it like many things as a transitional thing. Like, okay, if you, like you said, took plastic away, where would we be? We'd be back to glass. Well, plastic, if you put it in a landfill, takes, depending on the variation, the chemical composition of the plastic, it could take like 100 or 1,000 years to degrade, but glass takes 1,000,000+ years to degrade. In fact, it might last longer than 1,000,000 years. So which is better? Because that we'd be back to glass again for bottled water and bottled everything.
There's people that still think glass is better.
Yeah. I mean, okay, if you recycle the glass, it is better, but most people don't. They just throw it in the can and they're like, they forget about it. Like, do you not realize that bottle's going to be there when like human beings evolve into 6 tentacled something or others, like that's going to happen. Oh, wait, we have a couple comments. Let's see. I made a right-handed gun work for me. Being left-handed does have its disadvantages. Yes. That's where the P90 is it definitely works. Like bullpups, people love them or hate them. I love them. I will accept the faults. There's a new Ukrainian bullpup, and I'm gonna fucking get one when they're available. Anyway, I'll do a video about it at some point. Anyway, phone problems. Let's see.
I think we've lost context on all the comments, unfortunately. It would be nice to have a producer.
I know. Can't wait to do the same thing as Burning Man, but near an ocean or in a forest. Yeah. I mean,
there should be multiple Burning Mans.
Yeah, or at least something like similar to that. Like, okay, maybe you don't want to be in a forest burning a giant effigy of a human.
I mean, that's the KISS showmanship of it. It's not really like a necessary thing.
No, it's more about the camaraderie and the human connections and stuff like that. That's what Burning Man is all about. It's a very hippie thing, and I fucking love it. So why don't we go on to the next thing? Oh, I gotta check a checkbox there. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I think it's on to you.
It's a sad reflection on our society.
We already did that.
Did we?
Bottled water, yeah. Next one down.
Oh, yes.
Hey, I'm less drunk than you. How about that?
Time for an intervention. All right. Land. Oh, this will be a good one. Oh. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold.
Ooh. Well, there's a lot of moving parts there. The thing is, you can't take it with you. And there's only like the earth is the earth. And I don't know if we as humans are necessarily the owners of the earth.
Right.
Yes, ultimately there is enough space to go around. I hear a lot of talk about overpopulation, and we're probably getting there, but there's enough space space to go around.
We just
Usable
crested
space.
8 million or 8
Yeah,
billion.
8 billion.
8
yeah.
million.
That's crazy. 8 billion people on this planet. It's a big place. And there probably is enough space to go around, but is it all usable? I don't know. I guess buying and selling it, well, it's here. It's in the moment. It's like your own life. You claim a space and you trade something for it. Property tax is the thing that pisses me off the most.
Yeah.
The idea that you should pay penance simply to live in a place. Like, you have a piece of land that you're living on and using, and someone else over there, wherever, is like, oh, well, you owe us a little bit for that. That sounds really fucking awful.
Yeah. Well, like I actually kind of I agree with this statement that land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold, not because I think, oh, communism, everyone should have the exact same thing. It's more like I mean, I would feel like a hypocrite if I said you shouldn't like feel pride to be born on a specific giant piece of dirt. Well, you shouldn't think that like this small piece of dirt around what you call your house is yours. And if somebody is like walking on it, you can like go, like, what's the
Get
point?
off my lawn.
Like the Swedes have it right. Aliceman's right. You know, like if you're walking on the lawn, you wave to your neighbor and say, hey, how's it going? And there's no weirdness. But like here, tell me you don't have this weird thing when you're out on a walk. Oh, I can't step on that lawn because that's somebody else's property.
Yeah.
Like you have that social moray built into your thinking. And
which is
why?
cultural. Yeah, it honestly doesn't make sense. You're right. Like I think it's a good thing. Like, we should all be trying to get along and accept that people travel, and sometimes if you're just passing through, hey, whatever, you want some bread or something and a little bit of water, bottled water maybe.
I'm loving all these free libraries or neighborhood libraries I see popping up. Like, here's a thing that's already free and we're doing it freer. Like, that's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the one cool thing about like that's the one positive of government libraries. That's something they've actually like leaps and bounds achieved quite a bit on is making information available. Maybe not as much as we would like, but at least there's like a plethora of information available to us for free.
Well, and the governmental side of things is more sustaining things that have come before, because as odd as it sounds, 1%ers built the libraries to begin with. These people realized knowledge is power, and you can't take it with you, and sharing information and do something good. That's a good thing.
Pass it on.
And somebody has to be the steward of it. But speaking of that too, like land, you don't own land. You don't own any section of earth. You're a steward of it for as long as you live. I think you should have autonomy over a space that you've worked. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't own it. It shouldn't be there. Again, this is where the government comes into things. A title. There's a title for land. Oh, it's a piece of something that somebody can own and they can trade. No, fuck that. Nobody owns the land. I completely side with the Native Americans on this.
Yes.
You don't own land. the earth is your home. Like, we are simply stewards of the places that we work in and the places that we build things in for as long as we're here. Like, we should not see ourselves as owners. And why assign like a value to it? I mean, yeah, there's a value, of course, because arable land is obviously more valuable than arid land, I guess. You can grow crops, something, living on a granite hill or something.
Apply that logic to food. Apply that logic to health benefit. Like, oh, I'm ill, I need to draw upon community resources to be well with the pack and not make the rest of the pack ill. Like,
well, actually, you know what? I agree with you on this.
Yeah.
But it's the community. It is a thing that we build ourselves. It's a thing that we share with each other. We help each other. We should help each other. We don't need an oversight committee to tell us how to do things. We will figure it out for ourselves.
That's true. Bureaucracy bugs the shit out of me.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, have you ever tried to use government services? Oh my God.
Time management is a thing. Why is time management a thing? Oh my God.
Oh man.
A thing takes as long as it takes to get done.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need a middle management person to be the pressure. The people that need to get their job done and don't want to sit on their thumbs are going to come light the fire under your ass on their own.
Yeah.
That's a self-regulation.
Oh yeah.
Like, I totally agree that, like, cutting the chaff. Yeah. Cutting that shit off is a good idea. Like, it's not really serving a purpose. Get rid of that shit. It's a leech.
Yeah.
But the structure itself is important too.
Yeah, I think conceptually a lot of things make sense, but then they become bureaucratized. They become structuralized, where instead of it simply being
it's laziness. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and instead of it being a principle, it becomes a law. And I think that's a harmful thing. But we should probably go on to the next one, because there's it just gets better from here. We might actually have to make this a two-parter because these are so good. Okay.
You're reading this one, right?
Yeah. So, it is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society.
Strongly agree. Like, it is a flaw in a system when somebody can just sit back and do nothing and not only reap benefits, but affect everybody else's benefits to enhance their own. Like, beyond a point they could even, like, that their benefit would just become wasteful, right?
Yeah, they're just like burning resources.
Like when I imagine buying a lottery ticket and winning a bunch of money, it's like $500,000. Like,
yeah,
I can think of some things I want to buy, and after that, I don't really need like a bunch just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
And why other people don't think this way, I can't fathom, but that's just me, I guess.
Okay, this is another one. I'm not gonna do what I did before and look at the thing that I checked randomly. I will. Yeah, I strongly agree with this as well. we're too caught up in money and fame and fortune and all the things that come with this. And it's like, that doesn't mean anything. What did Gandhi have? Like, who's going to remember you? Are they going to remember you because you had a bunch of money? No. History does not remember people who have a bunch of money. They remember people who affect change, good or bad.
You remember that dude, Brian, that had 320 thread cloth comforter on his bed? Like, how awesome was that guy? Wait, who?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the amount of like shit that we throw money at that we probably didn't even break a sweat for, but somebody that like is just a nervous wreck of a human just to eat sees you throwing that money like it's nothing, and it's like for relativity sort of thing, like that's actually really huge.
Oh yeah. I know this might be a bit of a divergence, but I'm gonna tell a little story about when I was in elementary school. We did a field trip to McDonald's. And so, we're going through McDonald's and looking at all the equipment and stuff, and how all the stuff, well, this is the 80s, so it wasn't super technologically advanced, but there were machines that made burger patties and things like that. And so it was like a lightly automated system. And, we're going around looking at things and checking out all the stuff. And we got free sodas and all that, and a free cone. Well, that was back when the ice cream machine actually worked at McDonald's. And I remember we kind of all came to like a point in a back room, and the guide was asking, hey, do you have any other questions about McDonald's and things like that? And I looked over and I saw this huge trash can. Like, this was like a full-size trash can full of Chicken McNuggets. And I was like, what's with all the Chicken McNuggets in this trash can?
Like 60 gallons of Chicken McNuggets?
Yeah. And he was like, oh, well, we have to throw them away because of regulations, because they've been sitting on the shelf for too long. And I'm like, but they look fine. Like, you could feed a ton of people with these Chicken McNuggets. I mean, this is like, this is a big, huge trash can full of Chicken McNuggets.
How many whole chickens had to die just to be thrown in the garbage?
Just to be thrown away. And I mean, that stuck with me, realizing how much waste there is. And for it to be regulatory waste is even more heinous. Like, oh, in the name of safety, we have to just get rid of fucking everything. We can't even don't even look at those Chicken McNuggets.
In the name of safety means I don't want to be liable.
Yeah, exactly. Even though it's engineering, like they're throwing them away 4 hours before they're actually potentially dangerous. So you could easily put those on a truck and drive them to every homeless camp everywhere in a city and hand out heaps of Chicken McNuggets. Like, literally every homeless person could have 10 pounds of Chicken McNuggets with all the sauce. But oh no, we've got to throw them away. Can't even look at that stuff. Like, no,
like, seriously, why aren't there any fast food companies being like, hey, look what we're doing. You know, we have this program where we take all of our waste food and we like expedite it out across the entire state to, you know, like get food to people that need food.
Yeah, because they totally could.
Yeah. Like all it costs you is the gas money and labor for someone to take it somewhere,
which could be paid for and provided for by nonprofit organizations that care about that. You know, churches
take away your trash bill and put it into, you know, gassing up the truck to take the food somewhere and use it.
Oh, don't get me started on homeless camps. Like I have ideas on how we should be helping those people.
There are other countries that have no homelessness that isn't voluntary.
Vietnam too is one of those.
Yeah. Like it is entirely possible to do this. And nobody's like, oh, you know what? Like there's too many taxes, you know, like really, like how much of your fucking money do you really need if it helps your neighbor? Right.
Yeah.
Like, is it too much to ask to like be a good person?
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. There was a question about like not trusting corporations. You can't even trust your own neighbor to chip in enough. So you need tax to basically say, hey, this is what it costs to be a human, you know.
Well, I would ask the question, is it a chicken and egg thing too? Like, is the reason why people behave the way they do because we've given up all sense of autonomy to these systems, or is it because the systems are the only way to solve these problems?
It's just a thing we all agreed on as some form of exchange. You know, like everybody has a line they draw where they say this thing deserves to exist more than I do, or I deserve to exist more than it does.
Yeah.
Those are the things we eat over there. And these are the things we're running from over here. And that's biology. I mean, like that's evolution. Well, that's life.
Yeah, it is. I mean, ultimately all this is an evolutionary force.
Yeah.
Well, we have a comment I'd like to touch on.
I
want $1 billion so I can help all the people I love and open a cat sanctuary.
I've actually done the math. Like if I won $1 billion on Powerball or whatever, could I help everybody? Sadly, no. Like 1-to-1, you know, every person getting exactly the same amount wouldn't even make a dent in their life. And that's sad in itself. Like what, like a truly self-regulating economy would not have this phenomenon of like there actually being no way for everyone to just like contribute enough so that everybody could feel equally like taken care of. I mean,
I've actually kind of looked into the similar things because I was thinking about a similar situation, and I realized like it would take me about $5 million to solve homelessness in the US, but I would need to like have $1 billion because I would need to militarily take over the US to thwart all of the barrier systems that stand in the way of helping people first, before I could then spend a pittance to just simply help people.
So you've just found the argument for the initiation of force.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily do that, but mathematically that is what would be required.
There's a point, it's somewhere on every decision where someone has to make that call.
Well, and in every revolution, there's one man with a vision. Wasn't that Kirk that said that?
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Or the one. Very good statement. Oh, so we should go on. We should at least finish this page.
All right. Yes. Because we're 2.5 hours in already.
Yeah. Okay. Let's lightning round this shit and finish it up. So I don't know who's next. I think I said this one, so it's you.
Is it? Okay.
Protectionism. Make sure you're on the right.
No, wait. I read that one, didn't I?
No, I did.
Okay. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade.
Strongly disagree. Protectionism is a tool of it's basically used to destroy free trade. We don't need protectionism. Like in science, like imagine if in science we were like, well, we need to protect our ideas, because if we don't, then they're going to be proven wrong. Like, well, no, we want the best ideas to come to the forefront. We want the things that actually do the things to happen, right? Like that's what I want. I want people to be helped. And protectionism, it's like sanctions and all this stuff, all these trade regulations and everything. No, we don't need that shit. That is the thing that is making our lives miserable.
Yeah. Competition isn't a bad thing in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like if two countries are competing to be better at a thing, that's fine. There's no reason to thwart that or be like, oh, we should stop counting votes because they're going against me.
Well, and actually the argument could be made between like the US and the Soviet Union back in the day. If it weren't for the space race, if it weren't for the Soviet Union, like spanking the US over and over and over again, the US would never have gone to the moon. That would have never happened. The Soviet Union was like on the cusp of going to the moon, and that wouldn't have happened either. They'd have been content to put Sputnik up into orbit and be like, yep, that was good enough. We
shot a thing into space.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can hear. Let's go tune into the radio. You can hear it. Like, no, we don't need that. We need competition. We need people to be fearful of losing their place in the world and their position. That is what makes people have to work. What makes people emerge and do great things. And for better or worse, there are bad sides to this.
Yeah. Well, like the fact that like countries are treated like teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like car companies are all, oh, we're German cars, we're Japanese cars, we're American cars, whatever, but they're all like made across the world and traded and this and that. And when you really look at it, like they're all made on Earth. So fuck it. From the exact same materials, by the exact same meat sacks, like and that's it feels really silly. Like I also disagree strongly. There's never a point for protectionism, at the business to business level, sure, but countries are not businesses. We really shouldn't think of them as such. They may operate as such, but we need to draw the line and say, here no further with this type of action. because beyond that line, I feel like business practices become dictatorships.
And they absolutely can be. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, yeah, I guess that's where I sit with protectionism. I suppose we can move on.
We kind of agree on that.
Yeah.
For different reasons. Okay. So let's see. I think it's on you now.
Oh, the only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders.
Oh God, strongly disagree.
Same.
Yeah, like
that's bullshit.
Sure, you know, if you're a shareholder, it's important. You know, that makes sense for a company to do that, but people don't go into business simply to make profit. People want to change the world. The same thing with politics. Like they don't just do things because, oh, I want to get more votes than the other person. Oh, and I'll just like rest on my laurels. Well, okay, government does tend to operate that way. But so do businesses. Like, oh, we've made profit. But the individuals that start these companies do have a vision. They truly do. Like, and it does a disservice to everybody involved, even the shareholders, if you lose sight of that vision. When Colonel Sanders died, like, well, just look at KFC today. KFC is a shadow of its former self.
Same with Dave Thomas and Wendy's.
Yeah, exactly. Like again, in every revolution, there's one man with a vision. Like it's very easy when you're a pencil pusher, a data cruncher, to look at things purely on a numerical standpoint. But a company is bigger than numbers. It's more than that. Like, it's people. It's made of people. Not only the company, but the customers, the entire system. It's human based. I mean, there's a reason why Dave Thomas built Wendy's, like why that happened.
People have a goal like, in mind.
If he wanted to make profit, the thing is, if Dave Thomas wanted to make profit, he would not have started Wendy's.
Right.
You know, like you would not make a fast food restaurant if you wanted to make profit. So
yeah. Like, yeah, the very concept of, yeah, that's wow. there could be a whole episode in that. Geez.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a good point. Like, there aren't really like quality tends to suffer over time because there aren't as many people jumping on the bandwagon and be like, look at this superior quality, and people I miss the boat, I think, on the fact that they could just charge whatever it is they need, like, immediately to do a thing really well. And people will spread that by word of mouth and it will do really well and provide you some profit. But this now attitude has made it so that's not good enough. It's got to be a bunch of profit right away, like whatever that takes. So you water down the experience and just hyper focus on what gives you what you want and not what is necessarily best for everybody.
Well, and if your focus is purely on profit, well, then you've lost the battle. Like you've completely lost.
Yeah.
Like if that's all you want, and you're running a fast food chain, well, you're done. There's nothing left. Wendy's without Dave Thomas, KFC without the Colonel. Like, I mean, well, we're living that today.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Like, we grew up in a generation with like figureheads of fast food distribution actually being like real tangible people, and now they're just kind of caricatures.
Oh yeah.
Like,
That makes me think of Do It.
yeah,
Godfather's Pizza.
I mean, really, like, he was just a mascot, but like, you think of Dave Thomas, the founder of Wendy's. You think of Ray A. Kroc being still alive, right? Back, I don't know, I think he died in the 80s, maybe. I can't remember exactly, but like, there was a point in our lifetimes where like these individuals still had some kind of like very personal effect on our culture.
Yeah.
And now they don't. It's just a caricature of what they were.
Well, now they're almost kind of like a meme, just a logo. That it's no longer a living, breathing human being who has thoughts and concerns. I mean, Wendy's was built around Dave Thomas's granddaughter, I think, Wendy.
And there's a whole movie about Ray A. Kroc. Like, most people alive today probably don't even know who the fuck that is.
Yeah.
You know, but like, it was a good movie. Michael Keaton.
Huh. I haven't seen that. I have read Dave Thomas's book, which, by the way, everybody should read. It is really good.
Oh, wow.
Really good. Yeah.
Huh. I've always respected that guy too, being adopted myself.
Well, like, didn't he donate like a huge portion of profits to adoption?
He's probably the quintessential like patron saint, if you will, of the adoption process. Oh, like, I think the Dave Thomas Foundation is like kind of a front runner when it comes to that. Like,
yeah,
most people, I almost wonder, without Wendy's, would most people even know that adoption is an option?
Ooh. Oh man.
I mean, I don't have any evidence for that hypothesis, but like, I think he's made that big of an impact.
Yeah. Oh man.
And that's like the most baller thing he could have done with his status, if you ask me. Like,
yeah. Oh man. Wow. Well, I suppose we ought to try to get through these last couple questions on this last page.
Yes.
So default strongly disagree. I'm going to see what happens. The only social responsibility a company sorry. The only social responsibility of a company.
Didn't I read that one?
Maybe you did. Oh wait, hey, I did it. I did it. You.
Now who's had too much beer?
Oh yeah, okay. Okay. The rich are too highly taxed.
I strongly disagree with that. I don't think they're taxed enough, you know, because the second I hear a rich person being like, shit, I can't afford this thing that I need, then I'll think they haven't paid enough tax, or they've paid too much tax, or whatever. Like, you can only spend so much money. Anything else, why not put it to good use? Why not let somebody else make it work for them? You don't need it.
Oh, okay. No, I agree principally on what you're talking about. But
like, from a budget standpoint, even if you have like, oh, I've got like $150,000 for an emergency. All right, cool. You don't need more than that. Like, and
Well,
that's way more than anyone
okay,
would ever need, right?
but
Like,
I agree with your sentiment as far as like using your resources to do good. But is tax the way to achieve that?
you can't guarantee any other way that people won't take advantage of a system that doesn't have some penance for abusing it at some
Well,
level.
but so the government system is superior and unabusable?
I didn't say that. I'm just saying, like, a form of regulation is the only way you can really trust in, I don't know, people being honest. Like at
But
some
okay, wait
level.
a minute. Hold on a second. So you're saying the politicians are the last vestiges of honesty that we should defer to?
No, but the concept of politics does at that fundamental level make sense. Like, there comes a point where all you can do is have a best guess. Yeah, like,
True. No, okay. All right. All right. I agree with you principally. Like it makes sense. I don't know that the track record of those systems is very,
no.
it's not, it doesn't have a very good track record. So I don't know that taxes are the best way. The thing is, going back to the olden days, robber barons and stuff like that, th- those people are the people who built the libraries that we depend on today, the schools, those kinds of systems, the universities and stuff. I mean, maybe not ideal. Sure, they're not ideal. I don't think anything is, but I don't think that a centralized method of structure is any better.
Well,
Probably actually worse.
here's why it's necessary though.
Okay.
The likelihood of you having Guillain-Barré syndrome pretty low.
Mm-hmm.
But if you throw out a net or a cloud of enough rare things that really inconvenience the shit out of you, your chance of having something that falls in that bucket becomes a lot greater. Like, at what point do you say, like, it's not fair to ask everyone to chip in to help Tim over there because he can't walk?
Mm-hmm.
Like there comes a point where somebody has to be convinced to go against their own will to contribute to that effort so that everyone can have like a fulfilled life.
Okay, so we currently in the US live in a governmental structure. Like everything is hyper regulated, hyper controlled by the government. Do you feel like you have a fulfilled life?
Um, well, this is kind of a two-parter because I don't feel it's hyper controlled, but no, I don't feel like I have a fulfilled life as a result of living in this country.
Well, okay. Let's remove the hyper and just say controlled, like a controlled, encapsulated system.
No, I mean,
Because we do,
nothing's going to be 100%.
no, but I
But
mean,
so that said, I think it's better than alternatives, but no, of course it's not 100%.
well, and really honestly, at the end of the day, that is really where those are the only points we disagree on is like whether it's better or worse currently? Like, is it better for people to kind of freely figure things out for themselves and try to help people themselves? Because honestly, I think most people are good and they will help people um, freely of their own accord. They don't need coercion. Um, I'm concerned that coercive systems being in place encourage corruption, and that corruption doesn't help people.
Yeah.
It absolutely does the opposite.
It's so easy to steer it in one direction or the other.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, maybe I don't know. I don't know the best system. I don't know the best way to do things, but I know that what we're doing is not right. Like, there is a better way. There has to be a better way. Like, people want to help people. People, like, if you look at the US, we're highly taxed, not as taxed as most countries, but we're pretty fairly taxed. But also people give freely to charities to hopefully help people to do things. I give to charity all the time and every time I can. I'm sponsoring a kid in Uganda.
We get taxed way more than we know about.
Oh, yes, you are absolutely correct.
Like I would argue that any society pays out relatively the exact same amount as everybody else.
And yet we don't have high-speed rail across our country.
Yeah, what the fuck?
We are fundamentally we are paying at the very least 50% tax on all of our income.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, you look at like European countries and people are like, oh, well, Sweden, they get taxed like 60% of their income. And well, yeah, this is true. However, Sweden has high-speed rail. They have public transportation. They have like paid for education and medical.
Probably the best healthcare in the world. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's pretty decent. And, you know, like, if you look at it on the scale, like the US is actually kind of on par with Sweden, yet the US really is not even close. So that is saying something. Like, where is all that money going to? Where is that resource being hemorrhaged to?
Yeah.
Somebody's pocketing that shit. But yes, they are pocketing that.
Why hasn't there been a political party that is all about cleaning up the government? Just like,
yeah,
eliminating waste, not even about draining the swamp or whatever the fuck, you know, like any of this divisive shit, but really just cutting off the excess. Like,
and doing that and taking it from a humanitarian standpoint, like, hey, let's solve problems. Like, wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't it be nice if we were older?
Oh man, oh, good song. Yeah, but you know, that's heresy. You can't do that in the US. The reason there's not a political party like that is because there have been, and those have been extinguished because they challenge the status quo. They challenge the powers that be. Nobody wants somebody who's actually going to solve the problems because there's a lot of money to be made on the attempt to solve the problems. You want to, like, if you want to make money, you want to pretend to care about things and try to solve the problems and convince everybody, deceive everybody that, oh, you know, if you just vote for me, we'll take care of everything. And you don't. And you can skim all that off the top. And yes, this is probably going to be demonetized at some point because this is dangerous talk.
Well, you want to talk dangerous talk. What if people thought in the context that Hitler may have been evil in his methods and not necessarily his motives?
Okay. I know this is going to like trigger some people, but I think you're actually right. Like, I think you are correct.
And when you look at it from that perspective, you're not that different from Hitler. Like, you feel strongly that people should be treated the same way. You just have different ways of defining what bucket they're in.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, that is true of each and every one of us compared to Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
Yet there's such a strong denotation on the word Hitler.
Oh, yeah. You say Hitler and everybody just like, bro, they freak the fuck out.
Yeah. Anything associated with that word becomes associated with evil in that logical fallacy, right?
Which, I get it. There were a lot of atrocities.
Oh, yeah.
That happened.
He was a fucking dude. Like,
yeah. However, the principle behind, like, the goal there,
one guy's actions does not make a philosophy evil.
True. And it's very easy that, well, this is one of the things with nationalism and especially when people like get so hyper focused on the cult of the state, that they can't separate an individual from a system. Russia is one of those too. Like, people look at Putin and they think Putin is the only thing that runs Russia. Like, okay, Russia is full of oligarchs and governmental structures and very old guard things dating back, to the Tsarist era. Like, it's not just one guy. It isn't just the one guy. It's the whole fucking system. And the US, yes, the US is pretty young, but it's kind of similar here. Like,
Russia's pretty young, technically.
Well, yeah, Russia as a nation, yes. Actually, very close to the US. If you say the Tsarist state is the cutoff point, yeah. Same with the French. French Revolution didn't happen until almost 100 years after the US was crafted. Like, how old is France? Like, I don't know. I mean, if you're all into the government, then things are a lot younger than they seem.
That's a good point. Who's next here on the question?
Let's see. I think.
Do I read this one? Or you?
Let's see. I don't remember. We diverged so long. Why don't you go ahead? I'll just say go ahead. The next one with the ability to pay.
All right. Yeah. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care.
I would disagree with that. I think everybody should have the same access to medical care, like, or to anything. Like,
I agree.
We shouldn't like separate people into different classes. It's like, hey, you're all humans. Mm-hmm. We're all here. We have the technology to help people. We should be helping people regardless. It doesn't matter. your how much money you have or anything like that. Let's just fix it.
The same way at the grocery store, the little pin pad asks you if you want to give the donation.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
The pin pad is not going to judge you.
Yeah.
Like there's no shame in saying I can't afford to help others, or you could give 25 cents, or you could be super fucking rich and be like, you know what, I'll give it like $30,000 today. Like that might happen.
Yeah.
I don't know that it doesn't. I'm like, yeah.
I would imagine it does from time to time.
It's possible, but
well,
like,
because again, like if I came into a bunch of money, I'd be like you were talking about earlier. It's like you only need so much. Like, okay, I could pay off my bills and buy a DeLorean because that would be cool. That's not even like an expensive car. I just want like a DeLorean, and okay, maybe I might buy a machine gun because that'd
it's
be kind
funny that there aren't really that many DeLoreans, but even you are like, they aren't that expensive.
of they are kind of scarce. Which is crazy. Yeah, I like it'd be a DeLorean or a Lamborghini, although I've watched videos about the Lamborghini Countach
Catamaran.
and I absolutely do not want to drive a Countach. That is a shit car. I'd much rather, because I have sat in a DeLorean and it's
what a coont.
DeLoreans are cush. Like I would sit in that. I would drive one. I'd own one. It'd be nice. And you get a little bit street cred for having a DeLorean. Like
I have a picture of me in a DeLorean. Somewhere.
Nice. Okay, we only have 2 questions left on this page, and I think we should stop this page and we can come back.
Yes.
This is going to be a 2-parter, I think. So let's see. Governments should penalize businesses that mislead the public.
Oh boy.
More beer for this one.
Yeah, like define mislead, I guess. Like as a scientist, like my definition of misleading is probably far more strict than many. But even I have to ask that question, like, at what point do we consider something as good as fact?
Yeah. And
because we operate on probability. Nothing is 100% guaranteed.
This is true. Yes. And I would question whether governments would be the arbiter of penalties for misleading.
Okay, so recently we had our first video taken down by YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this has a happy ending, surprisingly, because I appealed it and said, so it was a less than 8-minute video clip of our interview with an anti-vaxxer. And most of this 8-minute video clip was actually my refutation of his points, but it was taken down for medical misinformation regarding vaccines. And I said, did you watch the video? Because I just took 8 minutes of my day to rewatch it. And it's actually promoting legitimate science. And they actually reversed their position. YouTube actually took away the scarlet letter from our forehead.
I saw that because I got a notification about that and I was like, the hell? And like, so it is kind of remarkable to win an appeal against
it feels
a
really
YouTube
good.
strike, like that is remarkable.
Yeah.
Which speaks to what we do and how we do things like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like earlier, I think we started broaching the topic of like white supremacy. Like, I still really want to interview a person that actually fundamentally believes their race is better than another, because I want to understand why they think that. Because if nobody tries to understand why, they're not going to be able to talk to that person in a way that they will receive information.
Well,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And being able to understand where somebody's coming from is really important. I agree.
It's not a sin to hear them talk.
No. I mean, these are thoughts that people have about things, and we should be able to have conversations about said things. I mean, how else are we going to change people's minds if we don't have conversations? Like, if we cut everything off and say, well, there can be no further conversation, well, then there will be racist, supremacist people, and there's going to be other people, and they will have no interaction whatsoever. No, we should be having conversations about this, because understanding where people are coming from, I mean, yeah, you might have the odd one or two people kind of going one way, but you're probably, when you have an honest conversation, it's going to go a lot more the other way.
Yeah. Racism actually comes from homogenization
and ignorance too.
Yeah. It's like, you create the bucket, you're going to create the conflict.
Well, and honestly, if you perception too, like, it's pretty hard to be racist when you look at the world as we are all humans on spaceship Earth. It's very, very hard to see people as greater than or lesser than. It's like, we all die the same. When the giant flaming meteorite comes down, it's not going to look at what skin color or nationality you have. It's going to kill you just like everything else.
Doesn't care what your religion is.
Yeah, your religion. We're all dead. Like, we're all going to die. And honestly,
none of that shit matters. Like I've been thinking a lot about mortality and length of life lately.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always relative. The people that survive you will look back on your life and say, here's how much this person achieved in X amount of time. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Like if you live 20 years, but change the world, your funeral is going to be a huge celebration,
Yeah.
But if you lived 120 years, like leeching off of the system, people are less inclined to have a celebration in your honor. And that's not a good or bad thing.
No.
Not everybody has to like change the tilt of the earth. Like, you don't have to make that huge of an impact, but as long as you feel like you've lived a good life, justify your existence, man.
I'm not sure I can. but make some impact on the world. Change something. We all can. This is the thing. We all can make some kind of a difference. It doesn't require a vast wealth of resources. It just requires your voice. Or no voice, like Stephen Hawking, like one of the greatest physicists that ever lived, didn't have a voice. It was a computer talking for him. we always made the joke, how is Stephen Hawking talking? But I mean, you know, he's revered. Like, and he was relegated to rolling around in a wheelchair with a computer talking for him. I mean, I guess it's kind of fortunate that he lived in this time where that was an option. You know, 100 years ago, he'd probably have not survived. So consider yourself fortunate to live in this time, I guess, that is possible.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You know,
and we're better for it too. Like, okay, yes, not everybody understands how significant the likes of Carl Sagan or Stephen Hawking or Neil deGrasse Tyson are today, but they will. They will. 100 years from now, they will. And it's not because life is unchanging. It's because, well, they had options today that they didn't have back in the day. Well, I don't know about Neil deGrasse Tyson. He was a perfectly healthy guy. But
that's a good comment. Is ignorance bliss, or is it blissful to be ignorant?
Ooh. Oh man, that
I'd go with the latter. I mean,
well, I'd be inclined to agree. Like, knowing what I know does it makes things more challenging. But I don't know if I'd want to be ignorant.
No.
Like,
that's my personal hell. Actually, like, it gives me anxiety to not know, to know something's off and not know the answer. Oh my God, that bugs me. Like, oh, something is not right. What's causing this?
Well, and this is where the days of religion made sense. Like, oh, it's the gods. It's very simple. It's the gods. Like,
and I'm the asshole that's like, no, that's not good enough.
And then dealing with anxiety as a result of that. Like, I mean, I can kind of see the benefit there. However, we wouldn't be where we are today if it were not for those who came before us, for who challenged the status quo, the things that we assume are real.
It's fine to be grateful for that, but we don't have to do it exactly the way they did it. In fact, we better not be.
Okay. Good point. Yes. Yeah.
There's always a better way to do something. You should always be trying.
I completely, wholeheartedly agree. The only condition, I guess, is like, we should not be so presumptive to assume that our way is the right way. Like, it might not be that way. We will never know until time has passed. So give people a little bit of leeway. The people that you know, maybe not everybody has all the answers. I mean, I certainly don't. I'm a fucking idiot. I'm just like an idiot with a voice box. Like,
yeah, I mean, if I'm being perfectly honest, I would rather not live in this country. Like, I feel more comfortable. I feel like a more, I don't know, contiguous train of thought in other cultures than the one that I happen to be born in. And that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. The wrong thing is that I was born where I was born and claimed by people who were, claimed by the land.
And the culture around that dictates you should be nationalistic, like, oh, wave the flag and support your country and stuff. Like, what country? Show me a country and I'll show you an idiot.
Everyone should be pledging allegiance to humanity.
Exactly. Like, this is the thing. Like, all it takes is one.
Let's start our own Uber country.
This is the thing. All it takes is one alien invasion. All it takes is one rogue meteorite to bring this all down. And everything that we believe in is dust overnight. Like, so does it really matter? Does any of this really matter? I mean, yeah, maybe some things do, sort of, but I don't think it carries the weight the people put on it. Ultimately, like, the only way we're going to survive as a species on this dust ball in the middle of space, revolving, I don't know, 200,000 light years from a black hole, which we will inevitably be sucked into, by the way. That's happening. Don't be too
we're never gonna survive unless we are little.
But it does put things into perspective that like, oh yeah, over there, Centaurus A, that's a black hole. Like, we're like being drawn into that. So it kind of changes the way that one can perceive the universe. But we should not be so far-reaching and concerned about millions of years in the future, because that doesn't matter. What matters is now, how you interact with your fellow human beings here and now on planet Earth. I would argue, and this is honestly like, this has become my core philosophy: treat things as if an alien invasion is imminent. Treat things as if we're about to be sucked into the black hole. Like, if this is your last day on Earth, how would you treat your fellow humans? And that's become like, live your life by that philosophy.
Yeah. That might be a good segue to the last question.
Oh yeah, we have the last question. And I don't remember who.
I think I read the last one.
Okay, I'll okay.
You want to be woke but uneducated, or educated but helpless?
Oh yeah, another comment.
Yeah. Woke but uneducated, or educated but helpless.
I don't know if those are necessarily mutually exclusive.
They're not, but in a like
philosophical
either or philosophical question.
Yeah.
I'd say educated but helpless, because helpless doesn't equal hopeless.
I agree. Like, I'd rather know all the facts. I'd rather know what I can know, but be powerless to do anything about it.
Or seemingly powerless.
Well, yes. And information sharing, by the way, is actually the true power.
Information society.
Oh my God, I wish we could like inject something like off the Hack album, or their self-titled album. with the one that had all the Star Trek things. Oh man. Yeah, I would rather be educated and helpless. Yeah. But yeah, like you said, Casey, I don't think you'd be helpless. If you're educated, you are absolutely not helpless. Knowledge is power. The only reason the system feels so powerful and so insurmountable is ignorance.
But the more you know, the more you realize how much you don't know.
Yes.
Which is a weird paradox. But
well, yes, it is. However, the system is far more ignorant than any of us are. So think of that what you will.
So who's reading the next one? I forget.
I will.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I guess. Okay. I'll read it and then we'll call it a night because I have to get up at dark 30 and it's kind of late. Okay.
That's like an hour from now, man.
Huh?
That's like an hour from now.
Yeah.
Well, 2 hours.
Shit. Oh yeah. Damn it. Well, we better work fast.
Yes,
we do. I do all my best work in the dark.
Yes.
Okay.
1/8 day.
Oh, this show is so good. Why do we not have more subscribers? Yeah, share this far and wide. All right, so statement is a genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. Whoa.
I mean, yeah. If you have a game, do you have fucking rules for the game? Like, if you don't, people will just do whatever, right? So for a free market to exist, there has to be a ceiling that says, hey, anything beyond this is no longer free. You're controlling other people. You're impeding on their autonomy. You have to put a ceiling on that, and you have to have a way to enforce people from crossing over that. Because if you don't have a way to enforce it, why wouldn't they just go take advantage of it?
Yeah, okay. I definitely agree with a lot of what you've said. The only thing that troubles me is when you have a system of enforcement, you're basically building in a system that can be corrupted.
But it's that very phenomenon is exactly what we're trying to correct. And yes, it's still possible, but it's ever so slightly harder to do.
Well, okay. I want to focus on the multinationals to create monopolies.
Multinationals create monopolies. Okay.
Predator. Oh, sorry. I got to skip up line there. Predator multinationals to create monopolies. So in a free market system, monopolies can't exist unless they're providing perfection. Like, and in that regard, a monopoly is perfectly it's perfectly fine. Like, it's okay if there's only one company doing a thing, if it's doing it really awesome. But when it's dictated that only this company can do this thing, well, that doesn't happen naturally. That can only come from the enforcement system, which like contradictorily is presumed to be built to prevent said things from happening.
It's because of being able to claim something as property.
Well,
like fucking utilities.
mm-hmm.
Well, we get to be a monopoly on this because we own the power lines. I mean, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way of the world. We own the power line.
Or we own a certain zone, right? This is our area that the government has given us access to. Comcast, right? Comcast can be the only internet company in this region. Well, okay, well, it's no surprise then that it's really fucking expensive there.
Yeah. I mean, there's no perfect way to run a system with 8 billion people.
Okay, yes, this is true. This is true. And this is where like I don't know that there is a right way and a wrong way to do things, but I know that what we're doing is not the right way.
You know, when we were born, there were like 6 billion people.
There's like 2 billion more people.
And we're like halfway through life and there's 2 billion more people. Like, what the fuck?
That's insane. And well, and the idea that there's only one way for every one of those 8 billion people to do things. I don't think that it doesn't make sense. Like,
I mean, on one level, I think it's really awesome that there's like billions of people right this moment falling in love, having fun, laughing, doing whatever, you know, like,
oh man, you're gonna make me cry right now.
like that's awesome. But there's also the huge struggle that comes with it, you know, competing for resources and whatnot.
And there are ultimately limited resources. There's only so much on this planet, and people fight over that. And we don't have to fight over it. Technology can solve a lot of our problems. Like a lot of the stuff that we bicker and argue and fight wars over and stuff, this is like 1800s shit. Like we figured this out a long time ago. There's no reason to bust out our tanks and fighter jets and stuff like that and conduct war with one another. No, we could do it with trade and sex. That's really the best way to solve problems. You know, if you want to stop
a good
a war,
episode idea.
yeah, if you want to stop a war, start fucking. Demonetized.
We just like run this social experiment on YouTube. Like, we're gonna stop war with sex.
But you can and trade too, because not everybody wants to have sex with one another, but everybody has something somebody else wants, and everybody wants to exchange those things. So if we're free to do that with unimpeded, we'll all get along. Like, look at mostly free market places like eBay, or truly free marketplaces like Open Bazaar. People exchange things on the daily
But there, like we were talking about before we even started recording, there's also in the free market room for scamming.
Yes.
And taking advantage of people.
And that is a thing we should do a whole episode about, because yes, that is absolutely a thing that you can deal with. However, governments,
they won't stop.
They don't. Like, in fact, it almost amplifies that. Like, you might be more scammed by governments than your fellow eBayers or Etsyers or something like that. So as a person who believes in sharing information, I want to share the tricks and tools and tips, I guess, to not be scammed, because I don't want people to be scammed. Like, I want people to work together, and like we should all be able to get along. Like I envision a world, and I know it's a little bit
Don't
maybe
give me that Star Trek crap. It's 2 in the morning.
yeah. Oh, great. Okay, you saw that in advance, but I mean, yeah, I'm Gene Roddenberry's vision of people getting along. Like, I believe in it. And not in like a stupid religious cult fashion, but like more of like a, well, this kind of makes sense. Like, this is how we should be doing things.
There's a point where it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It just matters if somebody is like at peace.
Yeah.
It's interesting that a political survey could lead to that level of thinking, right?
Well, and only here could it do that. We are experts at that. Yeah, like
that should be the goal, though. You know, the goal should be for everyone to achieve that level of mental peace, mental clarity, mental comfort,
togetherness too.
Yeah.
Like, we're at the really, all you have to do is look at Earth from space and realize, like, man, this is a desolate place in the middle of nowhere, just a back ass corner on a insignificant solar system in a really unremarkable galaxy. And the James Webb shit, like, there are so many galaxies. There's probably, you and I are probably having a discussion on another galaxy somewhere 10,000 light years away. Like, this could be happening
in the future. Sure.
Yeah. Well, and that's all the more reason for us to get along, to work together. Like, we don't, this is all we have. We exist in this moment. There is no other time. And you know, you've talked about the shortness of life and things like that. Yeah, like
I mean, I'm facing a lot of mortality issues in my life at this point, and it's causing me to ponder on, you know, how we think. How does that ever get translated? Like, you can inscribe facts, like this thing happened on this date at this time, definitely, but you can't really keep track of the ideas that respond from that.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they were written down and chronicled and referenced in some way. But like,
and
for
even
the most
then,
part, a lot of ideas get lost in time.
And even then, people like just simply don't believe it. There's enough propaganda out there, enough disinformation to counter that. Like, it does become difficult to differentiate between what's real and what's not. And maybe that's the state in which we live. Like maybe this in this time and space, this is our moment as like
Careful,
finding
we'll
out
be
real.
demonetized for breaking the fourth wall.
That might happen. Oh man. Well,
Shit, they're onto us.
if YouTube could go back to like season 1 and like remove a video, they could remove anything. Hmm. Which that's the thing. It's like to the viewers, it's all more important to keep the conversation going, to build your own communities, to have your own conversations. Like,
Yeah, if anything, like what happened today with having a video removed, just knee jerk, that's indicative of what our future will be like as we increase in popularity. YouTube is going to be more and more like, oh, we got to check this channel out. And then it'll be like, whoa, demonetize. They even told us like we could habitually just be like, oh, yep, they said demonetized in a joking way. They really should be demonetized.
that could happen.
Yeah, like it is true. Like you can learn an algorithm in your behavior and act accordingly and call it out like when you've stepped over the line. So like, you know, this whole self-grading system that YouTube has now, it actually probably does work really well.
It might, and I don't think it's
People
perfect.
know when they're rocking the boat because they're in the fucking boat.
Okay, this is true. Yes. That is a good point.
I mean, you know when you're stirring shit up and you know when you're going with the flow.
But then is rocking the boat a punishable offense, or is rocking the boat revolution?
Depends on if it scares you or makes you feel like you're having fun.
Well, maybe the people who are scared are the ones that need convincing. And the people who, you know, like maybe it's opposite world there. Yeah.
It's funny because as a kid, I was more often than not scared by that stuff.
Huh.
But now I would find it quite fun.
I would too.
It's like I needed to hang on to that regulation, to that structure. But at some point I was like, you know what? Like, it might be kind of wild.
Yeah.
Have it on this side of the fence, you know.
And that really is kind of a scientific way of doing things. Like
Oh hell yeah.
If we just assume that everything is intractable and stable and things that like,
oh, we should play that song Intractable. Oh, it's live. Shit. Can't do it on a live one. Damn it.
Well, like if we don't challenge ourselves, if we don't ask questions, and then we're inclined to repeat things over and over and over again. Like this is going to be Groundhog Day.
Only probably not as funny.
Oh yeah, probably not, because it's just us. It's not not the dream team. But it's something to think about. Like, oh man, yeah. Sorry.
Well, we're getting close to a 4-hour episode, so
Yeah, and I've got to get up and go to work in the morning and go to a stupid ass meeting. So I guess we should wrap things up. I mean, we got halfway through, right? Halfway, right? It's oh, page 2 of 6.
Oh,
Okay.
geez.
All right.
Okay,
Well,
a three-parter.
okay. Well, we got like a third of the way through that.
We got like a Lord of the Rings trilogy here.
Yeah. That's going to be a good one, though. Hopefully, everybody loved this. Love the comments.
Yeah, I like that there was a whole discussion going on that would have just been like awkward to even jump into. Like it had its own life. That's perfect.
Oh man,
that feels exactly like what we
this is so good.
Want to inspire in people.
This is so good, and we'll have to come back to this because I think this.
We don't need to be a meme. Just make the conversation go viral.
Yeah. Well, and keep the conversation going because, someday we're all going to be dead. So, we want to keep talking. Keep
Sooner
conversing.
than we think.
Yeah. Oh my God. I have a minute microscopy idea about entropy. And I have fucking nightmares about entropy. Yeah. So anyway.
I think I did one recently about spontaneous order that kind of dealt with entropy. Oh you God. Cannot escape that shit.
No, you it's so easy to think that planet Earth is like unmovable, unchangeable and stuff. And it's like, okay, well,
it's a closed system for now.
Yeah, well, and there are certain religious beliefs that feel that things are largely unchanged, but I mean, the evidence doesn't bear that out. So it's pretty terrifying. Yeah. Well, we'll go to part 2 of 3 soon. Damn, that's good. I'm actually curious what the saying the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, that was a very good one. We should definitely pick that up. We'll probably have a recorded episode next week.
Yeah, I've got a few days, so I'm gonna try to put everything together. Got a minute microscopy, I think I'll do. So yeah.
Yes.
Get everything together before the penultimate moment.
Yes.
I don't know when that
travel abroad.
I don't know when that is, but I know it's coming. So.
A week from today, I will be on a plane at this time. Somewhere over the Atlantic.
Okay. Well, I better get to work then.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's been real, everybody. Thanks for sticking it out with us. Yeah. Strongly encourage you to take the political compass test. Politicalcompass.org. Try that out. I don't know. Share your results in the comments. Also give Floyd some love because there he is.
We have a t-shirt that says kitchen sink meowscopy with Floyd on it. So
yeah, he's very proud of that shirt. Yeah.
So definitely buy that shirt, support the show.
And
thanks for deep sea living.
Yeah. Well, we'll be back soon enough. Have a good night, everybody.
Ich komm wieder.
Das Vidania. Oh. Wait, how'd you turn this off then? Oh no, I
He
have
hasn't
too
turned
many.
you on yet.
I got too many windows open. Oh, there we go. Okay, I think I got it. All right. Good night, everybody.
Whee!
Oh.